because you want to be in the crossfire danger zone with any tornado that does cause any damage. So again, that's still in effect right now. Again, you can see maybe even a little bit of strengthening there, right there to the east of Ian. You can see a little bit more of a signature couplet there. And the debris signature still going strong now just to the east of I-40 there, and approaching the Sallisaw, just north of the Sallisaw area. Looks maybe a little bit bigger. So this is going to be northeast of Highway 64. Right now heading to the city of McKay. So if you're on McKay Road, if you're on South 4570 Road right there, it's going to be heading your way right now along McKay Road. If you're anywhere in this area or to the east a little bit towards North Maple Street, towards East 1040 Road, if you're anywhere in this area, be sure to be taking shelter right now. This is where a tornado has been observed. It is on the ground and is moving to the east and could be causing some damage. And it's picking up some debris, something that's not supposed to be there near McKay. So again, this is on the ground, just now moving past north of Highway 64, east of I-40. So you're getting a couple of roads now here. So East 1060 Road there, McKay Road, maybe towards South 4560 Road, anywhere kind of north of this highway there. That's where we could be seeing some of that. Really just north to the city of Sallisaw, south of Dwight Mission, approaching the Highway 59 corridor there. We're tracking a tornado that's currently on the ground right now, moving to the east at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. Haven't gotten any official reports yet, but when you see that debris, and pretty big as it is, it could cause some damage.
One good thing with that latest scan, Danny, that just came in.
Yes.
There's still a debris signature there on the ground north of I-40, closing in on Sallisaw, but it is a little bit less defined. So it's let's hope that trend continues. Right now, it would indicate to us so there's still likely a tornado in progress, running pretty much parallel with Interstate 40, US 64 there between Vian and Sallisaw, closing in on the Sallisaw area here over the next couple of minutes. While that rotation is still as strong, that debris signature indicates maybe this thing is lifting and dropping, but it likely has had a tornado on the ground since Vian. So it's been there for a little bit.
Yeah, so it's been there for a little bit. So as Scott was mentioning, we saw more of a prominent ball that showed up east of Vian, but now you're noticing that it's a little bit more scattered. So we still could be seeing a tornado on the ground, but as Scott mentioned, some of it may be lifting. And the winds, you can see probably like right there, hopefully maybe kind of broadening out a little bit, maybe less of a southeast flow, so helping that kind of diminish a little bit. But, we're going to be keeping an eye on that. So right here, again, if you're just north of Sallisaw, we'll be watching this rotation as it moves through, and hopefully it is starting to weaken, but there still could be a tornado on the ground east of Vian there. So we'll zoom out a little bit here to more of the river valley. We still do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for southern Benton County and northern Washington County. Scott, let's do a quick zoom in there, maybe to show the velocity of those winds, just to see how strong those could be. So right now, again, you see that tornado possible tag. That's where we could see, like what we saw near the east of Vian, you see those spin ups. So right now, nothing too crazy, maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour. Some of that, again, is going to be above the radar beams. We're getting that from Fort Smith. So the good news here is maybe that's weakening slightly, but still could get some strong downdrafts from above the surface. Basically downdrafts, it's just rain, just wind that's going to the surface. We're watching that. And again, we're watching, you see these little notches. We're watching if any of that starts to swirl back up. We saw that tornado warning earlier near Siloam Springs. That was allowed to expire, as Scott's circling here, just kind of in this area right here. But we're going to show you just kind of to the edge and a little bit there into western Madison County what we can expect. So I'm going to name all these off here. 705 Highfill, 709 Power Plant, 713 Tawnytown, Arvest Ballpark, where the Naturals play, 716. City of Johnson at 719, Razorback Stadium, 721. So I know there's a lot of people camping out at Razorback Stadium, and I know those tents, I know they have coverage. We need to get into something real coverage, right? A building, something we don't want you to be blown away. And I know some of them are probably pretty sturdy, but in that area, if you know anyone in that area, just say, hey, that pale fella, he's kind of breathing a little heavily. What is he doing? He's saying to take shelter, to get inside if you can. Just be mindful of that because, again, even though not necessarily a tornado warning, still could have some really strong winds, and we don't want anyone to get hurt, as well as a lot of lightning as well. We just want you to be inside and be safe. So, again, Razorback Stadium, 721, Springdale, the city of Springdale, 722, Gully Park, 724, Cross Hollow at 726, Creech, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, 730, Hickory Creek at 731, Pilgrim's Rest School at 734, excuse me, Goshen at 736, Hobbs State Park at 740, and Whitener at 743. So that is moving to the east at around 45 miles per hour. This is going to be for straight line winds, maybe up to 70 miles per hour, but as Scott was showing you on the velocity, maybe not necessarily that, but still could see maybe 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. If we see any we haven't had any reports of any winds, so that's good. Especially once it gets into really populated areas, you'll get airports that pick it up or emergency management will pick it up. We're not seeing any of that here, so that's some good news there. So again, we'll be continuing to watch that though. All right, we'll go back to Sequoia County here. We'll watch this rotation here. Let's see if the rotation or the debris has kind of broadened a little bit. Hopefully it has. Unfortunately, no, it's still pretty good there northwest of Sallisaw. We'll see the debris. The debris doesn't look too bad. Maybe we'll zoom into that. But even though the debris necessarily doesn't look as bad, that maybe means it's just not picking anything up. So if we go off to the northwest here, so yeah, it's pretty messy. And Scott, I don't know if you have anything to add. It's pretty messy, but that rotation still looked pretty prominent.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Rotation actually looks quite strong right there, despite the fact that we might not have a tornado on the ground at this moment. That doesn't mean we might not in 2 to 3 seconds. It looks like that rotation is about as strong as it has been over the last hour or so. Yeah. So I certainly think that folks in Sallisaw, Roland, have every reason to be in their safe place right now. I think that the threat certainly is going to continue. It is traveling almost due east, and inevitably that is going to try to take it into the Crawford, Sebastian County area. So just to give you an early heads up, you're not under any current warning at the moment. That's not to say that you might not be over the next 10 to 15 minutes as this storm continues to track down I-40 off towards the east. So be mindful of that. That would put it near the Fort Smith area within the next hour or so, assuming it doesn't weaken or strengthen. That rotation there is continuing just to the northwest of Sallisaw. It is going to be coming into the Sallisaw community before eventually pushing off towards the east. The debris signature is lower than it was, meaning it's not as pronounced. Maybe we're not picking up as much debris and lofting it up into the atmosphere, but a debris signature nonetheless. Rotation is persistent, and at this point, it's quite strong rotation as well. So if there's not a tornado on the ground at this exact moment, there very well could be within a matter of seconds.
Yeah, and I do want to, if we could go back to that real quick, Scott, you might have seen a little bit of purple there with the velocity. That is the warning underneath it. So sometimes you'll see those purples show up on velocity and you might get kind of spooked, and that is the warning underneath it that's showing up as purple, but it's just something to be mindful of. That was just, so we'll zoom into there, and then there is a new warning for Flore County. So let's show this real quick near Sallisaw, and then we'll go down to the Flore County warning. So again, this is, again, still, again, you're seeing these pinks, that's the warning underneath, but still pretty well-defined signature there northwest of Sallisaw. Approaching Highway 59. So again, if you're in that area, be making sure to take shelter. Again, the city of Aikens could be right in that area. Again, Highway 101 here, the intersection of Highway 101, Highway 50. And if you're in this area, find that interior room away from windows, lowest level of your building if you can. So let's go to the Flore County one. The rotation's not into Flore County yet, but
that's strong rotation.
You notice that, yes, you're seeing that bright yellow and blues. Yeah, that's going to be potentially a tornado. It's not observed, but I wonder if this is going to be pretty close. I wonder if we can go to debris, what that's going to look like, because just southeast or southwest of Kyoto, so nothing really there that's really sticking out, but that's a pretty strong rotation, as Scott mentioned. You see those kind of bright colors show up, especially in this kind of swirl that it is. That's something that we're going to definitely keep an eye on.
This one's moving a little bit quicker. This one's moving at 60 miles per hour. So let's put a track out of the Kyoto area over into northern Flore County. This is certainly going to impact a lot of folks this morning as you're waking up. Kyoto right there at around 7:08, Cartersville 7:13, Bekoshi at 7:17, Cowington 7:19, Bedwell 7:21, Panama, this area of rotation, likely in your neck of the woods, right at 7:23, Spiro heads up 7:25, Cameron 7:32, Pacola at 7:34. That assumes it doesn't speed up or slow down. Right now, strong rotation moving through the Kyoto community. We don't appear to have a tornado on the ground, at least according to the radar. Not seeing any debris signatures such as what we've seen this morning in Sequoia County, but nonetheless, rotation that is pronounced, tight, and strong enough that is moving and tracking into northern Flore County. These storms do have a history of producing some winds and certainly some hail, a little bit of hail, but primarily winds, and as you can see, that tornado potential continues. A little bit of a debris signature still now just north of Sallisaw, likely in the Sallisaw community in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, so it's still right there. I did see another polygon for southern Flore County potentially, Scott. I don't know if my eyes were playing tricks on me there, if we want to see that. Okay, so, I don't like that. I don't know if that's just messy or anything. It does say it's radar indicated. I hope that's just radar interference northwest of Red Oak, but that does pop up at you a little bit. So we do have a tornado warning for southern Flore County as well. So Poto is kind of in between here, but still, even if you're in the city of Poto, I would be mindful of that as we're going through the region. So again, northwest of Red Oak, that could potentially be some rotation, maybe a tornado possibly on the ground. Again, we haven't had any confirmation of that yet. Whenever you see that, okay, it is a little bit messy there with the winds. So we're hoping that that's just more kind of interference, because it looks like the rotation, Scott, I don't know if you want to chime in, it looks like it'd be more northwest there.
I would think so.
Yeah,
I
so
would think
hopefully
so.
this is just, whenever you see those bright colors show up on debris, you worry a little bit. But again, this would be the rotation. Still, nonetheless, something to be a little bit concerned about to the northeast. So Wilburton there. And, so there's going to be that notch. So yeah, that was probably just some interference. So there's all those tornado warnings there for the River Valley, and then just the severe thunderstorm warning there for southern Benton County and northern Washington County. These are going to be for winds potentially up to 70 miles per hour. We looked at velocity. It looked like more about maybe 50 to 60. But still, nonetheless, pretty potent storm and a lot of lightning as well. It's cliche, right? When thunder roars, head indoors. But again, lightning is very dangerous as well, as with how strong these storms are, and a lot of moisture with these as well. There's going to be a lot of lightning triggering, and you can see it all up along the line, especially in the River Valley, now entering Sequoia County. If you're in Sequoia County, even probably towards Fort Smith, you're starting to hear that thunder. It's probably very loud there in western Sequoia County, and for northern Flore County as well, probably very loud with all that lightning. A little bit less defined there for Washington and Benton County for the northwest Arkansas area, but still watching that nonetheless. Okay, so this has been the storm we've been tracking that did confirm a tornado on the ground. It looks like things have cleaned up a little bit. What I mean by that is not really any debris signature. It would be probably to the north of Sallisaw. Let's see the rotation. So the rotation is still pretty prominent, so we're going to be keeping an eye on that. It would be, again, really right along Highway 59, north of Redwood Avenue, west here of South 4640 Road. And you see my head tilting again, I'm just trying to read the roads. We're seeing this, again, probably right here between Redwood Avenue and Highway 101. This is where the rotation could possibly be for a tornado. Again, nothing has been saying that it's now just radar indicated, so this could still be on the ground northeast of the Cherokee Casino in Sallisaw, west of Seven Oaks. If you're in the area in Seven Oaks, heads up, could be seeing a tornado on the ground there. Get into that interior room towards Aikens, just on the northern edge, but I would still be taking shelter in Aikens as well, just because these can sometimes turn a little bit unexpectedly. So Aikens, I would be taking your safe spot in your shelter. So again, right here, going to be northeast of the Cherokee Casino in Sallisaw, just overall in Sallisaw. So there's that. So again, winds right now, we'll be kind of looking at those, really seeing, at least in the brunt of it here, nothing too shabby. If we go maybe closer to the edge there, could be seeing winds around 40 to 50 miles per hour. On the southern edge here, and then you can see pretty bright lights there, Scott. Let's see what we got there near Sallisaw. Because not only are we seeing, obviously, the rotation, but obviously pretty strong winds. So you're seeing a negative. No, winds can't be negative, but you have to define it toward the radar and away. So this is towards the radar. When it's towards the radar, it's a negative component of velocity, so that's all that means. So 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, pretty prominent there in Sallisaw. And as we've been talking about, with how much rain we've received, even if winds, of course we've seen winds 80, 90, close to 100 miles per hour, but it won't take as much when the rain is, or I should say the ground is saturated, and that could uproot some trees, uproot some power lines. So again, that's why we want to make sure that obviously this is still a tornado warning, but even if you're in a severe thunderstorm warning, make sure to find that safe space, because that's where we can still see some things touching the ground. So here's an update with that, because this is really the most prominent storm, really the most active storm, I think, right now. Brushy at 7:14 in a minute here. Central High School at 7:15. Aikens at 7:16. Hanson as well at 7:16. Blackjack at 7:20. Muldrow and Muldrow High School at 7:24. Remy there at 7:27. The Cherokee Casino in Roland, 7:29, as well as the City of Roland. Dora at 7:33. U.S. Marshals Museum at 7:36. The City of Fort Smith, 7:38, as well as K. Rogers Park at 7:38. And Laban, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, Laban Veterinary Hospital at 7:38. Really testing my vocab here until 7:38. So this is the continuing of the track through Sequoia County and then going onto the border here of Crawford and Sebastian County. Again, this tornado warning does, if it continues, would include the city of Fort Smith as well as the city of Van Buren. I saw that blinking. I don't think they're just continuing that.
Yeah, they've just, it's no longer an observed tornado warning based off of the lack of debris as seen on radar, as we've been kind of pointing out for the last couple of minutes. They have dropped that to a standard tornado warning. It's now radar indicated. Rotation certainly is still there. As you can see, I would venture to say that it's still very capable of producing a tornado at any moment. Weather Service indicating, hey, this rotation is strong again. Sometimes these pulse down for a few minutes and then pulse right back back up. That's what's happening right now. So for the folks, let's say in Bellefonte, Roland, Aikens, I still believe, despite the fact that the tornado might not be on the ground at this exact moment, that it very well could be again at any second. This is going to be coming closer and closer to Muldrow, and as we called out, Roland there. So anyone that lives along I-40 or US 64 points towards the north up towards Bellefonte, you're in the path of this dangerous storm that does have a very recent history of producing tornado damage. And that's why we want to give you this alert that you might want to go ahead and take those tornado safety precautions. A very serious situation unfolding there in Sequoia County for us this morning. Rotation is quite strong. As Danny has just circled right there, we are running right into the Aikens community. It's passed now just east of Highway 59, to the east side of Sallisaw. We might have seen that rotation, very strong rotation come right over Sallisaw. Debris signature right now, it's not there. That doesn't mean it's not going to come back at any moment.
Right. So again, just because there's no debris tracker or no debris signature doesn't mean, oh, it's not on the ground. It just might not be picking up anything. So that rotation was, again, pretty strong and pretty there. So again, if you're in those areas we just pointed out, near Maple, towards Aikens, down towards Muldrow, towards Hanson, again, anywhere in this area there. So again, between Aikens and Hanson especially, you want to be making sure you're in that interior room away from windows. So we'll go a little bit farther south here. This is a little bit of rotation here. This is going to be for Flore County here, for northern Flore County, I should say. You're going to be noticing the rotation is going to be just to the south of Highway 9 right here, southeast of Keota. So this is going to be moving towards just to the north of Pecoshi, south of Cowlington. So if you're in between these areas right here along Highway 9, I'd be taking those precautions. And honestly, I would include the city of Pecoshi as well, just because it is taking a little bit of a southeasterly turn. Again, maybe towards the city of Panama, Spiro, I would be cautious there. Moving to the southeast at around 45 to 50 miles per hour. We'll put a track on this here just to kind of show you what's going on with this storm, and those folks in this area, just be making sure, give you a heads up. So again, we'll put it at 50, and I'm gonna go a little bit ahead of it just to be on the safe side here. So put a track on this. You know what? We're gonna go with the squall line because I want to make sure everywhere is kind of in this area, just because in this general vicinity we could be seeing some activity. So we'll go to the end of the warning and even a little bit farther east. So Pecoshi here at 7:19 in 2 minutes, Ward at 7:21, Stony Point at 7:24, Bedwell at 7:25, the power plant there at 7:20 as well as Spiro, Shady Point at 7:30, Murray Spur at 7:32, Williams at 7:36, Pecola School at 7:37, Pecola the city at 7:38, Rock Island at 7:40, Jensen at 7:42, Hackett at 7:44, and Slaytonville at 7:45. This is where you can see it hasn't been confirmed, but still could see some rotation and potentially a tornado drop down at any moment in this area here for northern Flore County. Again, just be mindful of that there could be a tornado here, a tornado warning in effect, I believe, until 7:45 or about 7:45. So this could continue to move off to the east there. So let's reset. Let's see where we're at, and then we'll kind of go back into the area. So right now, the most active part of the storm is going to be in the river valley. So in portions of Sequoia County, in northern Flore County, and potentially southern Flore County. That rotation hasn't gotten there quite yet, but this is the most active part of the line. And what we're seeing with this line of storms is we have a little bit of a southeasterly flow that's matching up with a westerly storm motion. And when that happens, you get convergence, and especially with a southeast tilt, you get a little bit of rotation at the lower levels, and that's where you can get some spin-ups and potentially tornadoes. And I would bet, I mean, we already saw a tornado confirmed in western Sequoia County. This has been now radar indicated, but still that rotation is pretty prominent. There is a severe thunderstorm warning there for southern Benton County, northern Washington County. Again, nothing too prominent here. The winds aren't too gusty. I would say, and again, this is just my personal opinion, just because it's a very populated area, people are outside. I think that warning was just, hey folks, if you're outside, be mindful, some strong winds are coming, because you don't see any warnings anywhere else. So again, that's just my personal opinion, but still a very strong storm nonetheless, moving through southern Benton County and northern Washington County, and that'll expire at, I believe, at about 7:30. The brunt of these winds, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, the brunt of these winds would be moving towards the Fayetteville area, right about to move through the Fayetteville area. So again, could see some gusty winds towards Springdale, southwest of Rogers. This does not include the city of Bentonville, and that gust front really has moved past Bentonville. We'll put in a couple of kind of markers here just to see. Again, we're picking out some spots. So here towards Springdale, 44 miles per hour. So yeah, pretty strong, 55. Okay, so it could be up to 60 miles per hour. So we're seeing those gusts potentially get up there between 40, 50, maybe close to 60 miles per hour. This did have a 70 mile per hour tag. I think that's still the case. But again, if you're in the Fayetteville area, if those at Razorback Stadium, and this is really just about to approach. So if you know anywhere that's camping out, tell them, hey, in a couple minutes, it is going to be coming your way. It's very strong winds, a lot of rain, a lot of lightning. You're probably already seeing a lot of rain, a lot of lightning. But this gust front is just about to approach I-49 there near Fayetteville, near Springdale, and towards Rogers. So if you're anywhere in these 3 cities, you make sure to, again, treat it like a tornado warning just because there's some pretty strong winds as well as a lot of lightning as well. So there's that warning there in northwest Arkansas. That is the only warning, and that's where the most prominent of the winds are. You notice that between Rogers and Fayetteville. Otherwise, you go towards Bentonville, a lot weaker. And then anywhere kind of towards Prairie Grove, you're seeing that. Again, you're seeing this is where the gust front's going to be, where the greens really differentiate from the reds. Not too shabby there, maybe 30 to 40 miles per hour, but still nonetheless some gusty winds. All right, let's go back to this cell right here. This is going to be the most prominent of anything we've been seeing so far. This is going to be, again, for Sequoia County. This is going to be just to the east of Seven Oaks there. It's going to be rotation in right here, just south of Aikens, north of East 1070 Road here, just along South 4680 Road right here. This is where the rotation is going to be between Aikens and just north of Hanson. So I'll put a circle there just so you're not seeing my hand wave.
I got it.
Okay. Just so you're not seeing my hand wave 1,000 times. You're like, oh boy, he needs a manicure. I know. But anyway, so we're going to be seeing that again. Okay, so just update now. So this is going to be just a little bit farther east. This is going to be east of South 4680 Road there. So this is going to be just to the northwest of Maple. If you're in the city of Maple, I'd be taking shelter because that potentially a tornado could be moving in from the west. And this has just been radar indicated, but it has a history of producing a confirmed tornado in western Sequoia County. So it was near the Sallisaw area. Again, if you're in Sallisaw, you're in the clear there, just to be seeing some moderate to heavy rain. But again, right now it's going to be along East 1070 Road there to the northeast of I-40, just to the west of Maple, approaching the 64B highway there, moving towards the Maple area and north of Blackjack, and potentially getting towards the area of Remy. So this is the most prominent rotation right now in Sequoia County. I'll be making sure to be taking that shelter in that safe space there because we have a history of producing a tornado in that area. We're hearing a lot of heavy rain come out outside the studio right now in Johnson. So again, if you're in that severe thunderstorm warning, that gust front as well is just approaching. So if you live along I-49, you make sure, or just east I-49, make sure to take shelter because that's where we're seeing these very strong winds and heavy rain start to come in.
A couple of things to pass along to you, Danny.
Yes.
Right now, both rotations do continue for LaFleur and Sequoia County, but as we take a look at some of the debris tracking tools, we're not finding any debris right now. That doesn't mean there's not a threat. That does continue. Rotation is certainly strong enough, but at least as of this moment, we're not finding any radar-indicated debris signatures that would indicate to us that a tornado is currently in progress, at least as of right now.
Yep.
That threat, though, probably going to continue until we can get this line out of the area entirely.
Right, and so again, as long as that rotation's there could be that potential for a tornado. Especially again, you see these notches and you think, yeah, that could be tornadic, as well as just the southwest of Collington here, near Panama, and the portions of the northern Flore County. That's something we keep an eye on. Let's go to the south a little bit, Scott. Let's see that southern Flore County tornado. So just still to the northwest near Red Oak. See a little bit right there. As we get closer to the radar, hopefully this will become a little bit more organized, but you notice that the rotation would be right just to the west of Red Oak, approaching portions of central and southern LaFleur County. This would be just to the southwest of Poto, to the north here of Talihina. I hope I'm saying these right, just to the northeast of there. So we'll be watching this rotation as it gets closer. We want to just put like a quick track on this here, for folks in central LaFleur County, just give an idea of what it may be looking like here.
Sure, this one's moving at 45 miles an hour, so a little bit slower than the northern cell. Some of these have ranged from 45 to about 55 this morning.
Okay, so Red Oak, 724, Denman at 728, LaFleur, the city of LaFleur at 736. Shahi, I'm so sorry, 736, Summerfield at 741, Talamena State Park 742, Waterfowl Refuge at 744, Reichert at 750, and Indian Nations National Scenic and Wildlife Area at 752.
New tornado warning for Crawford and Sebastian County. This is that cell we were giving folks a heads up about a little bit early ago.
Yes, so we were talking about this. Although the debris signature is not necessarily as prominent, we are still seeing that potential for a tornado on the ground. So it's gonna be this right here. And you notice they changed it a little bit to more of a due east track. So this line before was kind of more northwest to southeast. So that's a bad indication, northwest to southeast, but now that it's catching up, it's becoming a little bit more vertical. So now it's turning a little bit more eastward. So this warning does include the city of Fort Smith just on the edge there, just on the edge of Cedarville there, to the it excludes the city of Bellefonte as well. So this entire area here for Sequoyah County and into portions of southwestern Crawford County as well as far northern Sebastian County. It does include the city of Fort Smith. This is a new tornado warning in effect until 8:15. We'll show you, let's see that rotation there. See if there's anything going on southwest of Bellefonte there. So yeah, again, still pretty prominent, just the north of Muldrow there. It's going to be just to the west of Highway 64B. If you're in the city of Maple, be taking that precautions right now, just to your north, just south of Highway 101 there. It's going to be, again, right here. We're hoping that, again, the hope always with these storms is these rotations or these clashes of colors become more straight line winds, but still could be very strong straight line winds as well. And even if we're not seeing tornadic activity, we could still be seeing winds 50, maybe 60 miles per hour with this, maybe close to 70 miles per hour at times. So be mindful of that. Right now, really basically just over the city of Maple. So again, be taking those precautions if you live in the city of Maple and anywhere in portions of Sequoyah County there, now moving towards western and north or southwestern Crawford County and then far northern Sebastian County there. So again, there's that tornado warning in effect until 8:15. Let's go back up to the north real quick, Scott, just because of the fans out there at Razorback Stadium.
Bob Walker, yep.
Yes, Bob Walker. So we're seeing a lot of strong winds with that. And we can hear it right now over our studios in Johnson. A lot of heavy rain associated with this. You can see that line, and it has that tag. It looks like it just got shaved off. So basically, it's along and east to I-49. This is in effect until 7:30, or I think the new one's going to be probably till 8 o'clock would be my guess. But yeah, we'll take that warning off and maybe put the velocity on there just to see where the brunt of the gust front is. So now just east of I-49, so right on the edge of Fayetteville there, just to the southeast of Springdale along, or just south of Highway 412. Maybe some pretty strong winds in there, maybe up to 60 miles per hour, just to the west of Goshen. Again, now the city of Rogers, now moving to the east there, right along Lowell. So if you're in this area, moving towards Goshen, moving towards War Eagle, Huntsville, we're seeing some pretty strong winds there such to move in. So on the brunt of that gust front there, we're probably seeing anywhere from 40, 50, maybe as high as 60 mile per hour wind gusts. The warnings for as high as 70. I haven't seen anything quite like that yet. And you see the tornado possible tag. That's going to be for any of these storms that move through, because with that, again, that southeast flow, we could see any low level rotation, any of those spin ups. So we'll go back to the tornado warnings here in the River Valley, because that's where the most prominent of the activity is and where we've seen a confirmed tornado just to the west there in western Sequoyah County. So again, this tornado warning in effect until 8:15. This is for including areas of Fort Smith, of Alma right on the edge there, and of Cedarville. The rotation is going to be where this notch is right here. So I'm going to take a look and see, put a track on this here just to show you where this is headed. I believe, let's see, this tornado warning is going to be, let's see, moving to the east at about 35. So as Scott's been mentioning, it's slowing down a little bit, but we're going to put the entire line on here. We'll go velocity. So you can see that notch right there, but I'm going to show this entire line because anywhere along this entire line, we could be seeing some rotation with that. I want to make sure everyone is aware of that. So we'll just take the brunt of the tornado warning here and move this off to the east. We'll go a little bit past it as well. Okay. So Muldrow there at 7:30, so 2 minutes there. Bellefonte at 7:31. The Cherokee Casino at Roland 7:37. Dora at 7:43. U.S. Marshals Museum at 7:47. The city of Fort Smith at 7:50. The Laban Veterinary Hospital at 7:50. City of Van Buren 7:52. Shibley at 7:58. Rudy at 7:59. Alma at 8:03. Dean Springs at 8:06. Yostown at 8:09. Dyer at 8:12. And Riverdale at 8:16. And that's for this tornado warning in effect until 8:15. For what has had a history of producing a tornado. Right now it's just radar indicated, but as I clear out here, Scott, if you want to clear that real quick, it's sure. You can see the rotation is still very prominent between Bellefonte and Muldrow. And even though the rotation, you might be thinking, well, if you're near Muldrow, like, well, it's north of me. We still, again, could see some spin-ups along the line and still very strong winds as well. You're noticing these light greens. Well, maybe you could be seeing 50, 60 mile per hour straight line winds out of this. And that's even more prominent. Let's take a look at one of those. I'm close to 7. So this is a little bit above in the atmosphere, but it's pretty close to the radar in Fort Smith. So I would gander some of that might be reaching the surface. And Scott, I don't know about you, but maybe 60 to 70 miles per hour ain't out of the question there.
I think that's a safe bet. So whether it's straight line winds, whether you've got the actual tornado, you're probably going to have at least some minimal damage.
Right. So, and even if it's not tornadic, we're still seeing very strong winds out of this. Again, east of Maple, along Highway 64B right now, heading towards the city of Remy there, northeast of Blackjack, north of the Cherokee Casino in Roland. We're seeing not only potential of a tornado, but also very strong winds, 60 to 70 miles per hour in strength, moving towards into eastern Sequoia County, now into approaching, I should say, western Crawford County and far northern Sebastian County, again, including the city of Fort Smith, including the city of Van Buren there, and around the edge there, Alma there on the east there, right along I-49. So this has been the most prominent storm. We're going to be continuing to keep an eye on this because this is where most rotation has been. This is where it's had a history of tornado, and probably the strongest of the winds have been along this line. Again, it's going to be in this notch right here along 64B, moving off to the east pretty slowly, or a little bit slower, I should say, at about 35 miles per hour. So I think we're going to try to be getting some cameras here just to get you a look of what's been going on here along the area. And if any folks back there in the booth there, if you have any cameras and you're like, hey, Danny, this looks pretty cool, shout me out. So Fort Smith.
This is looking off towards the west from Mercy Hospital along Rogers Avenue. So while you can't see a lot going on out there, I'm keeping my eyes peeled on this camera just because we are looking into that general direction that whenever that rotation does inevitably cross over into Sebastian County, this may be able to give us an advantage of what's actually happening there. So we'll keep an eye on that one. We've got some other cameras there in Fort Smith as well. I'm keeping an eye on those. Nothing concerning showing up there right now. Everything remains Doppler radar indicated. But a lot of folks out and about early this morning heading to work, wherever your day may take you. Be mindful of rapidly changing weather conditions now. 3 tornado warnings in effect. 1 severe thunderstorm warning in northwest Arkansas. The tornado warnings themselves, Sequoia, Crawford, Sebastian, as well as 2 in Flore County. This line of storms primarily produces damaging straight line winds, but as you're seeing this morning, at times there can be some areas of spin develop. Now these are often brief tornadoes in duration, but tornadoes nonetheless. So I don't want to necessarily just negate the fact that they are tornadoes, but that is a real legitimate concern as we go up and down this line. For the most part this morning, Danny, it would appear that most of this rotation happening along and south of I-40. Not
Yes.
to say we might not see something north, but that right now is primarily a damaging straight line wind event moving through Benton, Washington, Carroll, and Madison County.
Yeah, for the most part, this has been straight line winds. Maybe we'll just take a look at this, Scott, real quick, and then I want to get down to that southern Flore County tornado warning. We'll see the velocity here, and you can see that kind of straight line winds. We're always watching for these little kinks in the line. Right now, nothing to indicate that. It looks like just straight line winds. You see the line is pretty straight there. Scott just going in between wind modes there. We're always looking at as much data as we possibly can. And right now, it looks like just straight line winds, but still obviously damaging nonetheless. This is where we could see maybe 50 to 60 mile per hour. If you want to take a query right there east of Springdale, see how high that wind speed may be. So maybe you could see gust up to 60 miles per hour out of this. So if you're in the Huntsville area towards Eureka Springs, anywhere along this line, and it has now moved east of downtown Rogers, Springdale, and Fayetteville, you're probably seeing some heavy rain right now. I'm looking at the cameras to the east of us. A lot of heavy rain, still lightning, but the worst of the winds have now moved past east of I-49 and now moving towards Eureka Springs. All right, let's go to this tornado warning here in central and southern Flore County because it started blinking at us as we were recapping what's been going on. So the rotation here is probably just on the border of the county here, southwest of Fanshawe here.
Yep.
So just southwest of Fanshawe. Let's see if we can get any velocity looks at that, see what's got for rotation, because if it's blinking, that means maybe a little bit towards the west here, southwest of Fanshawe. The good news is it doesn't look too prominent. Maybe this notch right here. I don't know, Scott, if you have any second opinion.
My second opinion would be that weak rotation, not organized. We'll watch it closely right now. It would appear to me that the Sequoia into Crawford and Sebastian County cell might be the stronger of the 3 based just off of high level. Even in northern Flore County, north of Podo, into Spiro and Panama, that rotation's there. It's just not near as strong as what you would need and what we're seeing right now, getting closer and closer to that Crawford County line.
Yeah, so if anything, it's going to be north of Poto, south of Spiro, right here. As Scott mentioned, very unorganized. Doesn't mean we still could see some low-level rotation hit the surface for a quick tornado, but again, we've been watching really all morning so far is going to be this one now approaching the Sequoia and Crawford County line. So we're going to watch this here. You can see you still have that big swirl. Let's see, Scott, if there's any debris out of that. I'm not, maybe it looks a little messy. I don't know if that would be
It's
anything.
not the cleanest signature, and I don't know if it exactly co-locates.
Yes, so we'll be keeping an eye on that though. It doesn't, the tough part about this is when we have the radar right here, it's hitting grounds, or it's hitting buildings, and it's hitting everything. The radar doesn't just like go through the rain, it hits everything on the ground. So what we try to decipher is when Scott and I are talking, or any of the weather teams talking, you're like, what the heck are they talking about? We're trying to see if there's anything out in the open by itself as debris, not just kind of scattered by the radar. So that's why we're talking about this. So Scott's going to put a track on this, and he did just now. Just want to give you folks a heads up. This is where the brunt of the rotation could be going. But again, even if you're not outside that, so Fort Smith, I don't think will be included in this. Fort Smith still could see some pretty strong winds as well. So you don't want to forget you folks. So 741 Blue Mouse School, 747 Van Buren School, number 43, Coleman Freshman Academy at 752, Figure 5 as well, 752, Shibley at 758, Rudy at 8 o'clock, Alma Intermediate School 803, City of Alma 804, Stepping Stone School 806, Dean Springs at 808, Yoasttown at 809, Clear Creek Public Use Area at 810, Dyer at 813, Riverdale Church at 815, and the city of Riverdale at 816. This is where the strongest the rotation has been. And while we're not seeing any reports of any confirmed of tornadoes, this has had a history of producing a tornado, and this is where we're definitely keeping a close eye as it moves off to the east into portions of southwestern Crawford County and then into far northern Sebastian County there. Again, that technically did not include Fort Smith. I think the rotation will stay to the north of downtown Fort Smith, but still could be seeing some stronger wind gusts with that as well. And again, these boxes, as they stretch out, we're making sure that this doesn't turn at all, doesn't, freakishly change rotation or direction, I should say, excuse me. But if you're near the city of Dora, right to the north there, Dora, if you live along the Sequoia and Crawford County line, this is where the rotation is heading here. So just to the northeast of Remy, seeing that rotation again right here, north of I-40 there, heading towards the city of Rena, just to the, Crawford County Speedway, if you live in that area. This is where we could be seeing it potentially tornado move through, and then to my east here, I'll back out of the screen towards Rudy. If you're in the city of Rudy, just west of I-49, the intersection of I-49 and I-40, that could be an area of where we could see some rotation. Van Buren, we'll have to be watching that, but just to the north of Van Buren along Highway 59 towards Highway 348, this is again where this rotation has not necessarily weakened at all over the last hour or so, and it's been holding on pretty well as it moves from west to east. So continue to watch this rotation as it moves through Sequoia County and now just approaching the border of Crawford as well as Sequoia County. So this is the most prominent rotation. Scott, why don't we do a reset here? Let's reset everything to show you what's going on. We'll go back into those storms. So if you're just joining us and you're like, all right, this pale fellow, what's he doing on my screen? He can't pronounce the cities. Here's what we got. So severe thunderstorm warning in effect for eastern Benton County, northeastern Washington County, northwestern Madison County, and northwestern Carroll County. This is going to be for straight line wind potential, maybe as high as 70 miles per hour. We've seen velocity at least queries of 50 to 60 miles per hour. The most active has been in Sequoia County, where this had a history of producing a tornado in western Sequoia County, now moving towards central Crawford County, far northern Sebastian County, tornado warning in northern Flore County, as well as now just approaching central Flore County. As we've noted, the rotation in Flore County has been a little messy, to say the least. Not to say it doesn't have the potential of producing a tornado, but it's been very messy. The most prominent rotation has been just to the north of the Fort Smith area there, kind of along I-40.
Danny, that northeastern LaFleur County tornado warning is going to expire at 7:45. They're not planning to reissue a warning as that rotation has really weakened. Now becoming more of a straight line wind threat. You'll see the new severe thunderstorm warning polygon that replaces what was a tornado warning.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, and so whenever you see that warning kind of they're overlapping. So Scott, let's just do a quick zoom in here. We'll just show you what we're talking about with the quote-unquote messy rotation. We weren't seeing much organized activity like we were in Sequoia County. So what they've said is, okay, there's not much rotation. We're going to just downgrade it to severe thunderstorm warning, because tornado warnings also have straight line winds. It's not like it's just a tornado threat. But you notice there's no that collection of swirls. There's no really swirls there. So that's why they're just going to downgrade it to a severe thunderstorm warning. Still, make sure to take shelter in your interior room, lowest floor of your building. If you have a basement, go to it. But really, we've been watching is that in Sequoia County. To the central Flore County one, again, pretty messy. It looks, something could be to the southwest of Fanshawe there, and then we'll be keeping an eye on that. But for right now, again, the main concern is going to be in far eastern Sequoia County now. So if you're in Sallisaw, if you're in Gore, you're in the clear. Maybe still seeing some rain right now, but in terms of any tornadic activity, we're in the clear there. Any straight line winds, really, we're in the clear. So right now, it is going to be in this area right here, almost approaching the Sequoia and Crawford County lines, just to the northeast of Roland, to the northwest of Van Buren there. And really, it's been staying very strong. Ever since I broke in about an hour ago, it's been very strong. And again, it's had a history of producing a tornado. Thankfully, we haven't seen any debris being picked up, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're not seeing any tornadoes. And of course, once it's all said and done, those crews out for the National Weather Service in Tulsa will be watching that. But for right now, again, the most prominent storm is going to be right here, northeast of Roland, northwest of Van Buren. So Cedarville not necessarily included there, but again, we'll be watching this. Continues to move off to the east. Now really starting to approach the Sequoia and Crawford line. We'll see if, again, the hope is that as it moves east, it straightens out a little bit, becomes more of a straight line wind threat. But you notice that swirl is really still there in that area. So we're hoping that that does weaken, but as it approaches the Sequoia and Crawford County line. Have we had any reports of any damage anywhere, Scott, or any wind gust reports? Okay.
No reports out of this specific cell. I'll tell you this, the rotation there, as Danny just kind of pointed out, to me would appear that it's not as tight as it once was, but when you look at the rain mode of the radar, you can see that notch and that bulging feature right there. So what very well is likely happening right now, one of many possibilities would be that this thing is recycling, that it may be down ticking right now, but when you look at the overall structure, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm afraid that in the next few minutes, we might not see that rotation coming back up just based off of the appearance and the overall storm structure itself. A little bit of that classic notching there. You don't often see those as pronounced when you have these squall lines like this, but that is what's happening. And it's right now on top of the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line coming into Crawford County, likely going to pass Highway 59 between Van Buren and Cedarville, probably within the next 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, so as it's approaching, as Scott was mentioning, the rotation's broadening slightly, but what we could be watching for when he means recycling is, well, what recycling means, right? It's going in and out, kind of pulsing in and pulsing out. So we're going to be watching that, and hopefully this doesn't pulse back up with more strict rotation, more tight rotation, but definitely something we'll be keeping an eye on as we get closer. So you're noticing here is just kind of that bulge appearance. You're noticing just kind of right here now, really right over the Oklahoma-Arkansas border, just to the north of I-40 there. So we're going to be watching the potential of any rotation. I wonder if there's any cameras here along I-40 that would show.
Yeah, we are actually pulling up one right now.
Okay.
The control room's working on getting that for us.
All right.
Right
Thank
here
you guys.
this one is going to be along I-40 at the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line near Dora. As you can see, a lot of rain, a lot of wind. Thankfully, not a lot of traffic out there, although that 18-wheeler is certainly powering through it out there. You can see treacherous travel out there as this line does work its way through the area. One of the things that will be difficult, which is not uncommon around here, should there be tornadoes this morning, there's a good chance they're going to be what we call rain wrapped. It's going to be very difficult to pick out any actual lowering of the cloud, just given how much rain is falling. And this is evidence of that. This is looking off towards the east, back into Arkansas. And you can see we're probably on the back side of that cell, but we're pretty much in the thick of it in there. That's a good shot there, a good truth of what's happening on the ground. It would be really difficult to pick out any actual funnel or contact with the ground based off of how much precipitation's falling out there. Don't see any of that debris on your debris tracker. That's the good news right now. If we'll go back to that, that may change though, and that's why we're watching this cell very closely for you. When you look at the wind velocities, here's the rotation. Hasn't changed a whole lot right there. It's still there. I wouldn't say it's the most tightly wound up. I wouldn't even say it's the strongest we've seen this morning, but it is some strong rotation. The overall storm structure still looks very healthy to me. I think if we're in Crawford County at this point, anywhere between, let's say, Uniontown, even Cedarville, which only parts of Cedarville are in the warning, back to Alma, even Kibler, just to be on the safe side, I think we have every reason to believe that it could be a tornado Let's hope that doesn't happen. I don't believe one's in progress at this moment based off of the lack of debris, but I do believe this storm may not necessarily be done with us just yet. New scan now just coming in. We're closing in on Highway 59 between Van Buren and Cedarville. That's going to come pretty close to I-40. We'll keep an eye on some of those I-40 cameras right there as well. I think there is one there at the 59 exit. I don't know if it's pointed towards the north, though. In fact, it's often west and east, and looks like RDOT has it pointed towards the east right now, so that's not going to be of too much help for us. Folks up in the booth, if we could take the exit 3 on I-40, that's Lee Creek Road there in Crawford County, that would be a good camera for us to take there as well.
Yeah, so as Scott was mentioning, usually the past 20 minutes or so, we've been seeing that kind of swirl. Scott, actually, we want to go like the last 30 minutes of this velocity and just kind of show you how it's evolved a little bit. So when we talk about the tighter swirls, again, it almost looks like, this is a kind of a crude example, but almost like, you know, an ice cream swirl, right? So let's, we'll take it very slow here. If you want to just grab that like speed bar up at the above, just to kind of slowly kind of show you how it's evolved. Thank you. So let's go to, just at the start here. So let's take it to 64B. So you notice that, again, you're kind of seeing that right in there.
Danny, you've got a storm spotter reporting a tornado on the Arkansas-Oklahoma line just north of I-40.
Okay.
Spotter report was just passed along to us.
So that's going to be, let's take it current then. So that's going to be, I mean, this cell, I'm assuming it's going to be this one here. So, and even though rotation is not necessarily the strongest right now, we've got a storm spotter just north of I-40. So yeah, if we can hopefully get some sort of look at that, but going to be somewhere probably in this area right here, just south of the Crawford County Speedway, northwest of Rena there, along Highway 348 there. It's going to be in this area right here. Again, storm spotter reporting a tornado on the Oklahoma-Arkansas line, just north of I-40. Doesn't appear we have any time frame for that. Probably pretty recently, but again, this is probably in this area right here if I had to guess. So if you're in the Crawford County Speedway, in the Rena region, be making sure to seek shelter, find that interior room, the lowest level floor of your building. Make sure to be staying safe and away from windows, because we did have a storm spotter that spotted a tornado just a couple of minutes ago.
Sorry to keep interrupting you.
No,
we have
you're
a
good.
new area of circulation now developing just to the south of Van Buren. You can kind of see that. That's probably going to be right in that general vicinity right there, just east of 540. So we're not far from the Arkansas River. We're probably right on top of the Arkansas River right there. That's going to be a secondary area of rotation now developing. So it looks like Crawford County, we've got two distinct areas of rotation, one of which very well could be producing a tornado north of I-40. Now the second one just to the south of Van Buren. That's going to be closing in on Highway 162, moving towards Wright Town, Kibler, of course, Shibley as well.
Yeah, so again, anywhere up and down this line, we're watching for any sort of rotation. And as Scott mentioned, again, right now moving to the east. Let's put we want to put just like an overall track on this, just to give folks maybe a heads up. Just kind of if you're in the general vicinity, moving off to the east, because we have kind of anywhere, any rotation along that line, we could be seeing some tornadoes in the area. Again, we have a tornado spotter just north of I-40 along the Arkansas as well as the Oklahoma border. And then we're seeing some rotation there just to the south of Van Buren, moving to the east towards the Kibler area and just to the south of Alma there. So we're watching these two areas right here. Again, if you're anywhere into portions of eastern Sebastian County, or excuse me, eastern Crawford County, be on the lookout here. So we're seeing a lot of the rotation. Fort Smith, looks like that rotation's now moved off to the east there, but still could be seeing some stronger winds there. So again, this is over the next 10 minutes or so. So again, Zion Missionary Baptist Church at 748, Shibley, as I mentioned, at 750, Rudy at 752, Westville at 752, Alma there at 754, as well as Kibler, and then Dean Springs there at 757. So again, this is where we can be seeing rotation anywhere along this line. Again, we generalized it because we're seeing possibility of any little spin-ups, but especially there, kind of rotation right here, as well as back off to the northwest near Highway 59. So again, kind of two areas here. So it's going to be to the northwest here, and then I think that secondary rotation was just to the south right there, south of the Van Buren area. So again, this part of the storm has been the most active over the past hour or so. So if you're anywhere in portions of Crawford County, we'd be keeping a close eye on things there. Again, this is where we've seen a potential tornado spotter north of I-40, and then new rotation developing south of Van Buren. So taking the area wide, as we mentioned, now a new update, kind of a newish update. So as we talked about, a very messy organization, not too much anything crazy in Flore County. These have been downgraded to severe thunderstorm warnings. for Flore County, but still could be seeing quite a bit of strong winds there, maybe up to 60, close to 70 miles per hour. So that's for Flore County, and that is now moving into portions of southern Sebastian County, and then eventually into portions of Scott and Logan County. So the brunt of this wind is going to be right along the Arkansas-Oklahoma border there. And then for this portion here is going to be just south of the Poto area. This is going to be some straight line winds, again, maybe about 60, close to 70 miles per hour. This line here in northwest Arkansas, it does look like it's weakened a little bit, at least with reflectivity. Doesn't look as prominent of reds. Doesn't look like maybe as strong of winds there as it moves now into portions of Madison County as well as the western Carroll County. I think Benton County and the northwest portion of Washington County, including the city of Fayetteville, you guys are in the clear in terms of any of that strong winds. Again, we'll see, keep an eye on that. But again, I think for the most part, those winds have diminished there in the portion of northwest Arkansas. Of course, we'll keep a close eye on that, though.
Danny, I want to pull up a traffic camera
Yes.
here. I'm going to have to edit the title there for us. This is going to be along I-40 at Van Buren. To the left side of the screen where those 18-wheelers are stopped, that's going to be the exit 59, the off-ramp there. That's where, very close into that area. And it looks like we're struggling to keep connection with that camera. Very well could be a tornado that we saw one spotter report not far from this camera there. Certainly seeing some rotation continue in that part of the area. Looks like that camera may have just come out. Unfortunately, we might not have access to that much longer. Okay, it's coming back. It's going to be tough in these really strong cells. Area of rotation right there. There's actually two areas of spin in Crawford County right now. You've got this one that's going to be moving really just between, let's say, Van Buren and Rena, but there is also a secondary area of rotation that's now just to the southeast of Van Buren as well. This is the only tornadic aspect of this line as of right now in Crawford County. You've got a few other thunderstorm warnings up and down the line. However, right now, when it comes to the actual tornado potential, right now, we are focused squarely on Crawford County as we see two distinct areas of strong rotation in a cell that has a very recent history of producing tornadoes pretty much along I-40 and US 64 from western Sequoia County. And now we very well have a report of one storm spotter at least reporting something on the ground. I've not seen any indications of damage on radar, so we take that report with somewhat of a grain of salt. But you kind of go in here and you look at radar there now to the east of Van Buren, just to the west of Kibler. I would say we probably do have a little bit of a debris signature right there, just now south of I-40. Danny, I'll let you take that. I'm going to find a camera over there.
Yeah, so we're watching this area right here. Let's see if we can go back just the last couple of minutes or so just to see. And we're looking for, as it's evolving, is that debris. And yeah, it looks like we're seeing that debris evolve. So I would say tornado is going to be on the ground just south of I-40, west of the Van Buren area, moving towards the east, just south of Alma. So again, you're anywhere in this area, be taking shelter because it looks like tornado debris is being picked up of some rotation.
This is going to be the US 64 I-40 interchange there in that Van Alma community. Very, very intense situation right there. Looks like we do have a debris signature now just east of Van Buren. Tornado likely did just touch down east of Van Buren, likely on the ground right now, likely just moved away from where that camera is.
Yeah, and if there's any way, guys, when we put up the cameras, Scott as well, if we want to do like a double shot, so like on Max 2, maybe show the location and then show the camera as well on Max 1. That way we can kind of show folks where that's going to exactly be. But yeah, so as Scott was mentioning, this is going to be in this area right here. So just to the east of Van Buren. You're noticing the
Kibler and Alma need to be in their safe shelter right now. Kibler and Alma.
So it's going to be, unfortunately, the rotation isn't going to be as strong here. It's going to be in this area right here. Let's see if we can go back to the debris. Maybe it'll show a little bit more prominently for us. Again, Shibley right now, that debris right now will be taking shelter immediately. We're seeing that debris pop up. And even if you're anywhere between Kibler and Alma, I'd be taking shelter immediately. Tornado on the ground with some debris moving off to the east here. And even if you're anywhere along this area, be taking shelter because it looks like, and a lot of debris has been picking up. That means potential tornado on the ground there. I don't think, Scott, anywhere west of Van Buren, I don't think that's really anything there. We'll keep an eye on that. But again, Shibley right here, this is what we're going to be watching, and it looks like they just updated it to that observed tornado. Again, this is right over the city of Shibley. Find that interior space as Scott's been circling right in this area right here north of Highway 162. Moving off to the east towards the community of Kibler, towards the community of Alma. Again, right on the edge here. So again, if you're anywhere in this area, anywhere between Highway 64 and Highway 162, find that interior room, get to the lowest level, and it looks like maybe picked up a little bit too in terms of that debris. So it looks like this could be strengthening as well. So, and if you're anywhere in this area, and this is why anywhere in between Alma and Kibler, in case this turns anywhere or it, rotates anywhere, in this area right here is what we're going to be watching here north of Highway 162. Tornado on the ground there. Debris is being picked up. Again, we've been talking about the debris signature. When you don't have anything that's dark red and it's kind of isolated more towards the green and whites, that means non-rain objects, so tree limbs potentially, dirt, maybe in terms of other debris in the house we're going to be watching for. So Scott's going to put a track on this here.
I'm going to do that with a squall just so we can include a little bit better territory right there.
So we're going to include the squall. What he means by that is just a little bit of a line, just in case, just a general vicinity.
Tornado warning will be extended into parts of Franklin County, likely given the fact that we've got a tornado on the ground right now. That new tornado warning out does include Crawford, Franklin. It may have clipped portions of Sebastian County, but this is the area of rotation is definitively going to stay in Crawford, and it will be moving over into Franklin County, West Franklin County, in the next few minutes.
Yeah, so that new tornado warning just popped up, so we'll show you that here in a bit, but these are the areas you need to watch for. So Kibler right now, Kibler Baptist Church right now, Alma High School at 757, Alma Church 759, Clear Creek Public Use Area at 759, Frog Bayou Wildlife Management Area at 801, Dyer and the Dyer First Baptist Church at 802, Vine Prairie Public Use Area at 807, and Mulberry High School at 808. Anywhere along that line, tornado on the ground there, the debris northeast of Highway 162, be taking that shelter. We'll get a little bit closer here, Hammer Road there, again south of Alma towards Red Hill Road, Sharp Chapel Road there. Anywhere in these areas, this is where the debris is heading. This is where you could be seeing anywhere, Lamb Road included. Anywhere in these neighborhoods right here, the community of Alma be taking shelter. This is where we could be seeing a tornado on the ground confirmed by the tornado debris right here, right over Sunnyside Road, over North Arkansas Avenue right now, moving off to the east-northeast. Be finding that safe space away from windows, lowest level of your home. And if you have time, but again, we want you to be taking shelter first, if you have time, find that protective covering in case any damage does come through. This is the area of concern right here. Again, this is going to be in Crawford County here, again, moving off to the east. In this area right here, we'd be watching in particular for the community of Alma there. So, and watching that as it moves off.
Dyer also needs to be in their safe place. This is going to pass Dyer. It's moving at about 50 miles per hour. Dyer and then Mulberry heads up. You're going to be next in line with this cell. Running almost parallel with Interstate 40. It's crossing through the river bottoms right now. May come closer to I-40 somewhere between Alma and Dyer. So if you're anywhere along Highway 64 where you live along I-40 between Alma and Dyer, this cell likely going to be tracking your direction before eventually skirting over towards Mulberry out there. Right now, the situation that we have is Doppler radar indicates a tornado is on the ground. It is likely producing some damage right there as it gets closer and closer to the south side of Alma, north side of Kibler. This is the only, I believe, let's double check, the only tornado warning that we have, at least as of right now, area wide. A long line of severe thunderstorms moving up and down northwest Arkansas into the river valley, damaging straight line winds, a lot of hail. We haven't forgotten about you folks, but our attention has to be turned, rightfully so, to where we've got a tornado in progress at this moment. You can see on the leading edge of that line, this is something we pointed out a little bit earlier when that rotation wasn't too strong. The overall structure was sticking out to me as something that, that looks like it's trying to pulse back up, and that is what's happened. Ozark, Wadalula, you're included in this tornado warning. Now's the time to go ahead and get ready to take those tornado safety precautions. Mulberry, it looks like Cass is probably going to be included in this as well. Really right now, it's Alma, it's Kibler, it's Dyer. That's where that rotation is. That's where we likely have a tornado in progress. It is moving at about 50 miles per hour. So heads up, folks in Mulberry, Cravens, Pleasant View. If you live anywhere in western Franklin County, this cell is going to be tracking over to your direction as well.
Yeah, so and on reflectivity, this is really showing up there with the notch. Looks like here with the debris, it looks like it'll probably be.
I'm not seeing it as much as we were.
Which is good, obviously. Let's see if we back it up. So it was right here. So it was this right here. So let's track this, Scott, very closely. So looks like it's losing its steam. As we talked about, that doesn't mean it's done yet, but the good news is it's not as prominent. Is that the latest?
That is the latest.
Okay, so if it were anywhere, it would be just south of Alma, moving to the northeast along I-40. As we mentioned, can we do that one more time, Scott? I just want to show what we're looking at here.
Let me do it a little bit differently.
Sure. Yeah, so we're watching for that debris. You notice that ball is not as prominent. It's not as, out there, so that's some good news there. So yeah, there it is right there, and now it's moving into the northeast, and now it's kind of getting lost in the radar, which is what we want. This is good news. It's not a very prominent signature there, but with that being said, if we were to see anything, it would be just south of Alma there, moving along I-40 towards the Mulberry area, and as Scott was mentioning, towards Ozark, towards Cravens. Anywhere in this region, we could be seeing it spin back up. We saw that already happen.
I think I am able to actually see the wall cloud from an RDOT camera. I'm going to pull that up right here. It's kind of tough to pick out, but if you look towards the top of your screen, you can kind of see that lowering. You got to let your eyes focus a little bit there, but notice where the lighter colors, and then towards the top of the screen, those darker colors, that's likely the lowering right now. This is looking west from the Alma exit, exit 13 there. This camera is going to be in prime position to see that. That's likely the wall cloud right now that we're seeing overhead. If you were to time lapse this, you would notice those clouds are spinning. It's kind of tough to see in real time, but that's the wall cloud right now crossing I-40. It's going to be tracking off towards the northeast there as well. Debris signature has faded just south of Alma, but we need to have a couple more scans to go before we have any more comfort. Obviously, with that wall cloud, it's kind of now exiting your screen as that storm continues moving relatively quickly. Very serious situation there. Looks like the tornado did live just to the south of Alma before. I mean, it did produce some damage going into the south side of Alma, not far from Kibler, south side of Alma there. Moving towards the northeast quickly. Wall cloud still evident on this storm specifically. Rotation continues. So while the immediate threat may have lifted, I don't think overall the potential is totally eliminated. I'm afraid this cell isn't quite done just yet.
Yeah, and we're reading what Tulsa's saying. They're going to wait for one more scan, and if it doesn't show that tornado debris signature, they might drop the observed. But that's already happened before. We've already gone through that cycle. We're in western Sequoia County near Sallisaw. We saw that debris signature pop up, move through eastern Sequoia County, drop down, and now it's redeveloped. So just because, like we talked about, it's done maybe for now, we're not done completely.
I do want to point something
Yes.
out real quick, Danny, just to the southern Flore County. That's nothing tornado warned, but near Heavener, there's a little bit of a notch there. I want to watch that notch to make sure there doesn't try to spin something up within that.
Yep.
It's not pressing right now. It's a severe thunderstorm. You probably got some gusty winds, but let's watch that to make sure it doesn't try to grow into something else.
Yeah, no, good note, Scott. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, we're trying our best to cover everybody, but sometimes with priority, especially with this tornado warning being observed, we're going to make sure folks in Crawford County, now more moving towards Franklin County, are covered in that area. So we're going to be taking a look here. This is going to be that shot there. So again, here's where we're watching right here near the Alma area, and then this is going to be that shot that Scott was showing you earlier along I-40 near Alma. The tough part about this is that we're seeing a lot of rain, obviously, with this. So it's going to be hard to actually see anything, especially on the cameras, but that doesn't mean any activity is not happening. So again, what you're looking at is this area right here along I-40, right here near the Alma area. So that's what you're looking at there on your left. Your right here is that radar showing up here for the east. Let's see, Scott, if there's one more scan here of the debris. It might take a couple of minutes. Let's see if anything's showing up.
I don't see any debris right now. I just see rotation,
No.
but no debris being lofted.
I was going to say, it's very messy, so I'm not even going to point anything out there. We'll go to the velocity, if we could, just to see what that looks like in terms of rotation. Again, that's going to be continuing to watch any of that rotation move out to the northeast. So it's going to be probably a little bit in this area and right along I-40, northeast to Alma there. It's getting a little bit messier, which it doesn't necessarily mean it's over, but not as strong and prominent as it once was. But this area kind of right here will be moving off to the northeast. So anywhere Ozark, near along I-40, that's where you're watching any of that rotation to develop. Right now, we're not seeing any debris, so it may have lifted. We'll see if we can get a closer shot of this here. So again, probably between, say maybe right here, but just east of Alma, between Highway 64 and I-40 of that signature. Also seeing obviously some gusty winds here in Dean Springs right now. But anywhere along this line, we're going to be watching for any spin-ups. As Scott mentioned, anywhere along this line has the potential of producing these spin-ups as well as very gusty winds. 60, maybe as high as 70 miles per hour. Again, that's what we're going to be watching in those areas right there.
If there is that wall cloud, that like we just saw on
Yes.
On that live camera, it's moving towards the northeast. So Dean Springs probably moving closer to Graphic. That rotation is there. It's not as tight as it has been. We're not seeing debris in the moment, but we still are seeing rotation. And that's the concern with this, is that it's possible this thing isn't necessarily done. Weather Service is continuing the warning, despite the fact that it still looks a little unorganized in comparison to what it was. The thing is, as we've kind of pointed out, and you've probably seen this morning, is changes happen really quickly. This storm has a history of weakening, and then really quickly after that, pulses right back up, produces a tornado. So if you're in Dean Springs, if you're in Graphic's not technically in this morning, but I'll just tell you, you're close enough. Mulberry, Bluff Hole Park there, Pleasant View, you might want to go ahead and take those tornado safety precautions right now. Just because the tornado's lifted doesn't mean it might not drop back really quickly. So I don't want you to mistake what we're feeling as some good news as an all clear. I've not been able to give anyone the all clear yet this morning, just passing along that good news as we can get it. It did appear that we likely had a tornado there south of Alma, north of Kibler, coming right into the area, lifted as it moved into Alma, at least this downtown proper Alma, I should say. But that's not to say it might not tighten back up here real quickly, which is a real possibility. This storm has done that. Danny, if I could, I want to go back to our Flore County cell. This is one I pointed out a little bit earlier. I want to just check in on it. I've been looking at off air, keeping a very close eye on all these other cells out there. For the most part, things are behaving. That cell has a little bit of a little notch there. There's not actually any organized rotation in it, but that's not to say that that might not change as well. This is going to be coming into the Heavener area. We love our friends in Heavener. You got some winds, you got some heavy rain. Right now, not seeing rotation. That's the good news for us at the moment. Let's see if that changes with time. We're hoping that that doesn't. We're hoping that this can just kind of congeal into a line, become a heavy rain producer, and then exit the area, and we'll maybe have some drier weather later this afternoon. Right now, the pressing concern is in Crawford County for a cell that will inevitably be tracking over towards Franklin County with a very recent history of producing a tornado east of Van Buren. It did track closer and closer to Kilburn and Alma there as well. When you look at the rotation at the moment, it's still not as organized as it once was. That's good news. Let's hope this trend continues. Right now, with every scan that we get, it's looking a little bit less organized than it once was. Still, though, a reason to be in your safe place, reason to take those tornado safety precautions continues. Warning set to expire. I believe this one was going to go through. Let's see here. I've already forgotten. There's been a few of them this morning. It's hard to keep track of them all. 8:30 this morning. It's slowing down as well. This was moving at about 50 miles per hour. It's down to 30 right now. The overall line itself appears to be slowing down. So that is going to start to increase our flood concern, especially in those low-lying areas that often see some flooding. So we're going to be dealing with a little bit of a variety here this morning. Right now, the most pressing issue is this area of rotation that's now on the east side of Crawford County between Alma and Mulberry. It's moving towards the northeast now at 30 miles an hour.
All right, so we do have a camera, Joe Ellison working hard here. So this is going to be at the I-49, I-40 interchange here at near Alma. So it's going to be right near there, and you can see well, I'm acting like I'm going to move off to the west there, but this is looking eastbound there, kind of into the storm. So we are seeing some very strong winds produced out of this as well. You can see the sign shaking there for the exit. I could use some McDonald's right now. I'm pretty hungry, but we are seeing very strong winds out of this, even though we're not seeing necessarily rotation right now. It's becoming messy, as Scott mentioned. We want that line to become more straight. We are seeing some very strong winds of this as well. So even though it's not tornado warned, or excuse me, not necessarily a tornado confirmed, we're still seeing some very strong winds as well. And this is right near the I-49, I-40 interchange there, just near Alma. So Alma, the city of Alma, still seeing some very strong winds as that line continues to move east. Again, we're maybe seeing a little bit of that straighten out, but again, we're watching kind of this area right here to see if it spins back up. Thank you, Joe, for picking that out. This area right here, maybe it's trying to spin back up. Again, our goal is that we just have the greens and the reds, they're straight together, can kind of rub together, right? Like two pieces of paper. That's what we're hoping, that it becomes more straight. Debris, very messy, which is good news, obviously. We're not really seeing anything pop up. I'm not seeing anything. Scott, maybe if we go back just a couple minutes, see if anything's evolved out of this. But again, if anything, it would be probably in this area right here, but I'm not seeing anything that would indicate there's, so this is where it was. So you can see it was pretty big there, then moved to the northeast in between Alma and Kibler, and then it just kind of gets lost. So again, that's good news there. Means that for now at least, tornado's not on the ground, but as Scott mentioned, we kind of get this recycling. So again, move to the northeast, and now it's kind of get thrown into the radar, So that's some good news there. But again, still keeping an eye on this as it does potentially redevelop. All right, I think while we have the time, see if unless there's anything you're seeing, Scott, that you want to point out, maybe just another quick reset.
Sure, absolutely.
Sure, okay. So you're like, can this guy please go off the air? Believe me, I'm saying the same thing. We want you to be safe, and if I'm off the air, that means we're not seeing anything. So severe thunderstorm warning still in effect for eastern Benton County, though I think that eastern Benton County are in the clear, western Carroll County, as well as Washington County, or far eastern Washington County, and into Madison County. Scott, let me just do a quick look at velocity there. You don't want to forget about the folks in northwest Arkansas either. There's been some pretty strong straight line winds with this. We'll see if that warning does continue. For right now, doesn't look anything too crazy, but maybe some strong winds aloft that could be reaching the surface there, maybe close to 40, 50, maybe as high as 60 miles per hour. But the rain itself is kind of weakening a little bit, so it's kind of along that line, 40 to 50. So again, technically severe criteria is 58. So it's close, so we might see a special weather statement. Sometimes they call it get extended, which means not a severe thunderstorm warning, so that's good there. The other severe thunderstorm warning, let's take a look maybe at that notch potential, Scott, see if there's anything out of that. And we're keeping a close eye on that rotation there in the Flore County. It looks like we're keeping a close eye, and that's straightened out a little bit, but that in there maybe we could be seeing, again, with these MCSs or squall lines, so maybe this right here, we'll be keeping an eye on that. Again, nothing that's popping out to us yet, but with any of these lines, we're always watching for these spin-ups to kind of develop along the line. You get that southeast flow, you get that westerly storm direction, and then you get enough low-level rotation to produce some tornadoes that unfortunately have already happened today in Sequoyah County as well as into portions of Crawford County.
I'd like to also watch this here in Mansfield. There's nothing severe or pressing right there right now. I just don't love that signature right there. When you kind of look at it on rain mode, you can see it's
a little messy, but
it just bears watching. That's all. That's all. From Mansfield to Washburn over towards Boonville, that general area. Let's just watch it.
Yes. So we're keeping an eye on that. We're keeping an eye really on the entire line in case anything pops up. And as Scott mentioned, it's pretty messy. We're getting close to the Fort Smith radar, so sometimes you kind of see this ring. So that's kind of, it's scanning. So it might not be as prominent on reflectivity, but you want to show the, velocity. Just again, was showing that swirl. Yeah, just want to show that real quick, then we'll go back to this tornado warning here. So you're seeing that swirl. Again, we always look for swirls. And right now, again, nothing too crazy, but keeping an eye on that towards Mansfield, headed towards Boonville there. That's where we're seeing maybe the potential there as it goes from southern Sebastian County towards Scott County. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Nothing warned yet, but we'll keep an eye on that. All right, is there anything, let's see if there's any updates here. It looks like the Flore County Emergency Management is reporting a tree blocking Highway 9 between Spiro and Stigler in Oklahoma there. So a little bit of damage there. Confirmed touchdown just to the south of EOC, quite a bit of roofs torn off.
That's going to be there in Crawford County, so that's going to be that confirmed touchdown that we saw a few minutes ago. The threat right now is almost out of the almost out of Crawford County. It's closing in on the Franklin County line right now. If you're in Alma, the threat is past you. I know we just got a message about that. Yeah, you're good right now in Alma. However, if you're in Mulberry, I'd like you to stay put. I'd like you to stay put there for about the next 5 to 10 minutes. Let's let this thing get a little bit further towards the east. I'll tell you though, it's not near as pronounced as it was.
Right.
Let's hope that doesn't change, but we are starting to see damage reports come in out of Crawford County. We suspected that would be the case based off of Doppler radar. Now power outages also starting to come up. 3,500 folks without power in Sequoyah County. Of course, this same storm produced a tornado in Sequoyah County as well, near Vian, and moved really close to Sallisaw there. So this is one of those cells that it's pulsed up, it's pulsed down, it's dropped at least two tornadoes this morning. Let's hope it's trending down. I'm not entirely sure it is just yet.
Yeah, so we're keeping an eye on that. Looks like there might have been a severe thunderstorm near the Sebastian County line that's now has been downgraded to a special weather statement. So there are some weakening trends on some of the lines, but as Scott mentioned, a pretty broad rotation right now, but areas that could eventually see that kind of spin up once again. Just kind of looking up and down this line of anything that's really developing for us. The Fayetteville, Northwest Arkansas severe thunderstorm warning, that has now been downgraded to just a special weather statement. So we'll show you that here real quick. So these winds, as we saw, more 40, 50 miles per hour, definitely something to keep an eye on, but it is weakening slightly. You notice the reflectivity, it's going from those darker reds to more oranges. That means it's weakening. Doesn't mean it can't pulse back up like we've already seen. And you notice the darker reds, it's a little bit of a thinner line. So it's starting to I guess, weaken, which is good news. We need that line, though, to start weakening farther to the south, where we're still seeing that tornado warning in effect. So I believe this is the only, we do still have some severe thunderstorm warnings, but we're going to have less active warnings. I think that's going to be, tornado warning there, and then we still have the severe thunderstorm warning in the Flore County. But again, this is where we're still keeping an eye on. They did drop the observed tag, so that means, and the rotation is broadened, but still, this has had a history of producing tornadoes. We've already seen it towards Alma there. We saw it in western Sequoia County. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on this because, unfortunately, these little cells, they're not going to quit. They're not going to go away. So we're watching this as it approaches kind of towards the Crawford County line there, towards Franklin County, or excuse me, into Franklin County right now, towards Johnson County. So we're watching that. And right now it is approaching that line, at least that notch, that little bit of spin, as it's heading into Franklin County, and then eventually potentially into Johnson County as well. So
starting to see some photos coming out of Crawford County that hurt my heart a little bit this morning. The tornado damage there very evident. Have at least a couple of homes that have sustained some very, very serious damage. I don't want to opine too much on the extent of which, but certainly some uninhabitable homes there. That's going to be this specific photo that I can't share with you on air, but south of Van Buren there, that's going to be where this storm started. And of course, you've got the damage as it moved into Alma there and Kibler. So very well likely, certainly a strong tornado, I'm afraid, is just struck Van Buren and Alma. And of course, you got that same storm producing a tornado in Sequoia County as well. Right now, when Danny zooms in and looks at that rotation, it doesn't appear to me that there's a tornado imminent, at least as of right now, but I don't like this storm. I don't like what it's done to us this morning. It's pulsed up and produce a tornado really quickly after being relatively weak for several scans. So we can't let our guard down just yet. In Mulberry, Cravens, even Ozark, let's be on our safe places right now, just in case this storm does what it has done multiple times this morning.
Yeah, and so as Scott was mentioning, unfortunately, those homes were destroyed west of the Baptist Hospital and south of the EOC. So again, unfortunately, that tornado was confirmed, and unfortunately, some homes were damaged there in Crawford County. As Scott mentioned, and we're watching this kind of little bulge right here. That's where we're watching for any possible rotation. Again, it's broadened a little bit, which is good. It's staying broadened, but we're continuing to be keeping an eye on it as it's now starting to really approach the Sebastian County, Franklin County line there, Crawford County line, excuse me. So we're continuing to watch that and seeing if anything starts to redevelop there. For right now, we're seeing it. So it looks like a severe thunderstorm warning is going over it. I'm not sure if this is going to be extended, but they did issue a severe thunderstorm warning for this. I don't know if they're getting more confidence that it's entering into a little bit less favorable conditions, but now a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for portions there of the region there heading towards Crawford County, eastern Crawford County, and then into Franklin County. So severe thunderstorm warning in effect, just kind of for the general vicinity here. But again, we're watching as you see that kind of swirl there. We're watching that maybe this potential could pulse back up. This goes until 8:30. So I wonder if they'll let this expire. Right
now, they're indicating to me that there is no plans for this warning to be extended unless something changes, and that's the fear right now. Right now, the warning's set to expire at 8:30, which is going to be, of course, about 13 more minutes. We'll have to see what happens between now and then. Another power outage update for you. 1,900 customers without power in Crawford County. Some of the reports that I'm receiving off air, okay, that warning has been allowed to expire,
yes,
as you just see just falling off the screen there. Looks like near the hospital, near Baptist Hospital in Van Buren, one of the neighborhoods that has sustained some more of the damage. That's just some preliminary reports. I know there will be more coming out of the area between Van Buren and Alma, as well as Kibler and that little triangle there. But right now, the reports that I'm seeing the most of are coming out of the area, the neighborhood surrounding Baptist Hospital in Van Buren.
Yeah, so unfortunate news there, and we're hoping that that's the extent of it. Again, now this tag has just been replaced by tornado possible because it has had that history, of producing the tornado, possibly wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour there as it head towards portions of the Crawford Franklin County line and really extending towards Sebastian County into portions of Franklin County there as well. So again, this is headed towards Ozark. You got to be mindful if you're in the Ozark area, seeing the potential of maybe some very strong winds and the potential of redevelopment of a tornado. Let's go back to the Flore County severe thunderstorm warning, Scott. Let's see if anything has been pulsing up there. Again, we're watching.
I don't think so. I've been kind of looking at that off air very closely, and I'm not seeing anything that's standing out as as of concern, at least not right now. Watching it closely still, though.
Okay, good. So yeah, so this is for 60-mile-per-hour winds, so you're going to be mindful in southern Flore County. We're watching that, taking things area-wide there. So you notice the severe thunderstorm warning for northwest Arkansas, that is dropped off. So that's some good news there. Still watching now, severe thunderstorm warning in effect for portions of Crawford County there into northeastern Sebastian County, primarily now going to be entering into Franklin County. We'll keep an eye on this as it moves off to the east. This continuing to move to the southeast in LaFleur County, and once this line passes through, I think we'll be done for the daytime at least. In terms of any severe weather, we'll have maybe some isolated storms follow it, but in terms of any severe weather, I think it'll be diminished. It's just unfortunately when that another round comes later tonight into early Saturday, the same risks are going to be there with possibly some tornadoes, damaging wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour, and maybe some hail. I do want to see what I think some storm reports came in. Let's see if these have updated here. So as we talked about that damage, unfortunately, just in Franklin County, or excuse me, this is going to be towards Crawford County here, so let's see if we can pick up some of the queries here. So the wind gust there near the Alma area, this is going to be 70-mile-per-hour wind gust. So that was about 20 minutes ago, again moving through the area of Alma, and then some damage there. Unfortunately, trees down in Crawford County, the city of Rudy, and then we heard from Scott, unfortunately, some damage in the Van Buren area. That has not been kind of thrown in here yet, but again, some damage in the Van Buren area was right here near the hospital. So in Washington, unfortunately, as that kind of moved through, that storm produced that tornado on the ground. No other reports yet in terms of that. Again, we'll continue to be watching that, though, as it moves through. Still have the severe thunderstorm watch. We'll load this up in effect until 10 a.m., but it is starting to cancel off. So our eastern Oklahoma counties for Delaware, Adair, and Sequoia have been canceled. LaFleur, once that moves through, that'll be canceled. And again, I'd say for Benton, Washington County, as we bring that just kind of reflectivity back up, I would say those folks there, if you're in Benton County, Washington County, you'll be in the clear for any severe weather. Sequoia County, I think, is in the clear. Crawford County, nearly there. Sebastian County, still seeing those very strong winds. And heading into Franklin County, portions of Carroll County still in it there with maybe some gusty winds up to 50 miles per hour. But really the only two warnings right now are going to be this one here heading into Franklin County, as well as that one in LaFleur County. Really some gusty winds potentially there, but the main threat there is to see if there's any notches that spin up. And I saw that updated. I think they just continued it. But we'll zoom in here just to show you this severe thunderstorm warning. So it's just a continuation of the storm. We'll look at velocities, see if any strong wind gusts are there. So nothing too promising there, which is good. But if we look at kind of what's going on here, we'll take a query here. So again, nothing too crazy. As we talked about, that's just the velocity component. You can't have a negative wind, but it's towards the radar, about 25 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour. So nothing too concerning there, but we are going to watch. You see this kind of notch here. Again, nothing too concerning at this point. We're watching if any of that does spin up. So move off to the southeast and then eventually out of LaFleur County. But that's an area we're going to be watching as well.
There's a little pocket of rotation there near the Page community, southeastern LaFleur, kind of right there where you were sampling some of those pixels. Looks a little bit better over here on some off-air products, but a little pocket of rotation there along Page. That's going to be Highway 59 there in southern LaFleur County, right up towards 259. It's going to be close to Black Fork there in Scott County. I think it's moving towards the southeast. That's going to be more of a concern for folks in Polk County, Mena specifically. I know there's actually a big event down there today for some cycling. So for anyone that might be in that area, let's be mindful of that. Right now, it's not tight, it's not wound up, it's not producing a tornado. A little bit of an area of rotation, very weak. We'll watch it closely until that thing's out of our viewing area.
Yeah, and it looks like it updated here and maybe congealed a little bit, which is good news. Again, just a big word for straightening out. But can you see these notches? Whenever you see that with those MCS, the organized line, you always want to keep an eye on those to see how they're going. All right, we'll zoom out here. Let's see. Again, so that's the other active warning. And then with Franklin County, again, all of the rest of the area, seen some gusty winds, maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour, a lot of heavy rain, a lot of lightning, but nothing severe in terms of that except for Franklin County there. I believe the strongest of the winds have now moved into the border of Crawford and Franklin County. So we'll see if we can zoom in there, Scott, thank you. So we're seeing some of the strongest winds. You can see those bright reds there. That could be some very gusty winds, maybe 50 to 60 miles per hour. The tag on this was 70 miles per hour. Doesn't look as strong. We're seeing upper 40s, maybe some low 50s. But if you're headed towards the Ozark area, be mindful of that. And the biggest thing with this is we're watching the redevelopment of any rotation. Right now, it looks pretty broad. Not seeing anything in terms of any of those swirls. We'll look at a couple of different looks here. Again, for right now, I think all of that, if we were to see anything, it's now moved past Crawford County there. I think it's now solely into Franklin County if we were to see anything there.
That's right.
But we'll be watching that. If you're near the Ozark area, we'll be watching any of that. Maybe just put a track on this, Scott, just kind of a general look just to see in case it does pulse back up. Want to give folks a heads up. If you're near the Ozark area or anywhere to the east of this line, just in case anything were to pulse back up with the storm, because it's had the most history of producing at least potentially two tornadoes, as well as a lot of very strong winds as well.
This is moving east at 35 miles per hour. The whole system's slowing down. It is weakening overall. I really believe our severe weather window is closing. It's just not quite closed just yet. Folks up at Birds Adventure Center there in North Franklin County right at 8:26. That's in about 2 minutes. Let's call for Boonville. They're near the high school at 8:33. Downtown Paris, 8:39. Subiaco, 8:48. Mount Magazine State Park right at the top of the hour at 9. New Blaine at 9:10. London there at 9:24. Just some estimated times of arrival in which the strongest of winds will be arriving in your neck of the woods. Right now, things are looking a little bit better than what they were. Let's ride this out for a few more minutes, and then we're going to get you over to CBS Mornings, and of course our coverage of apparent tornado damage in Crawford County will continue here on 5 Plus, of course, at 5 News at noon there as well, and of course later this evening. We did have some confirmed touchdowns this morning. Right now there are no active tornado warnings. That's the good news. The system itself slowing down, losing a little bit of steam, but unfortunately before that started, we saw some tornadoes in Sequoia County, and that same cell tracked into Crawford County. Likely have a couple different areas of damage that we've got crews assembling, and we'll be deploying there and bringing you some more information. Power outages on the uptick out there, quite a bit of them, in fact, around the area. At last check, 3,500 folks without power in Sequoia County, 1,900 without power in Crawford County from apparent tornado damage there. Looks like Crawford County still at 1,900. Sebastian County around 155 there, and that looks to be mostly 159 folks without power in Benton County as that storm rolled in, probably with some straight line winds there, or perhaps some lightning strikes. Either could be potential culprits when it comes to those power outages. That 2 severe thunderstorm warnings continuing for Franklin and then southern LaFleur. The hope is these continue to weaken as they have over the last 10-15 minutes. I think that trend looks to be continuing. When you look up and down that squall line, Danny, it's not crisp, it's not well defined. Right. It's kind of getting a little bit more disorganized. It's not looking as mean as it did as it moved into East Oklahoma and West Arkansas.
Yeah, it's kind of north to south, starting to be a little less organized. You see the brunt of it, more of the stronger activity, it looks like, maybe more towards the south. And again, that'd be out of the coverage area there. But I think once this passes in southern LaFleur County, it'll be the area will be cleared there, and then we continue to watch that. As you mentioned, we're seeing on reflectivity, at least those darker reds becoming a little bit less defined. Not as defined as at least of a damaging wind threat in northwest Arkansas, still a little bit hanging on there in the River Valley, especially there in LaFleur County, and then off to the west there near McAllister. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. As well as this, as Scott's been mentioning, it's been slowing down. So we've been seeing quite a bit of rainfall moving through. There's just a lot of moisture associated with these storms. So we'll take a quick look at some rain accumulations across the region. So pretty widespread, and again, everyone's been seeing that rainfall. We've been seeing potentially ½ inch, maybe close to as high as an inch of rain at times. So we'll kind of pick some spots out here. So in Benton County there, just a little bit over an inch. In Washington County, western Washington County, about 9/10 of an inch. Sequoia County has some spots, maybe as high as an inch and a half. LaFleur County has moved through about an inch. So everywhere, really, as this rain moves through, at least west to I-49, is going to be seeing about an inch of rainfall there. As it's weakening a little bit, as it's heading towards some of these counties there, might lose a little bit of steam, therefore a little less rain, which obviously is some good news there. But a lot of rain with this as well. And this, unfortunately, doesn't bode well for us tomorrow when we have our second round of storms that could be strong to severe, and the ground is very wet. Those winds could uplift some trees, down some power lines, cause some damage. So unfortunately, that's another thing we're going to be keeping an eye on with this tomorrow, is the effects of today. How does that impact those storms tomorrow? But as we've been talking about, thankfully, things have looked like they've been weakening. We'll go back to the reflectivity and just kind of show you what's going on. We'll freeze the radar right here and look, we'll look at this cell here. So you see it's kind of becoming disorganized a little bit. We'll see velocity, if anything's popping up. Not seeing much of any rotation. Again, we're seeing any swirls, maybe a little bit of a bulge right here along I-40 northwest of Ozark. But in terms of any rotation there doesn't look like anything too concerning. In the Flore County there, still seeing a little bit of that notch. This is going to be just right here near Highway 259 heading southeast. Again, this would be out of the area there, but it's just something to keep an eye on as it's moving southeast. Just a little bit of a notch right here, maybe a little bit of rotation in that region as well. Otherwise, for the most part, we've just seen pretty gusty winds, 40 to 50 miles per hour. So we'll take some cues here, some queries of what it's looking like in some areas. So if we go to that severe thunderstorm warning is just being chopped off. So if you're behind that again, if you're in Sebastian County, you're in the clear there if any severe thunderstorms. And 40, 50 miles per hour will go here near Ozark, 50 to 60 miles per hour. So again, we're continuing to watch that here as we go through the rest of this morning. But again, the good news here is it is weakening, and we're continuing to see things start to wrap up here as we go through the rest of this morning. But of course, we'll be keeping a close eye on things as we go through the rest of today, as well as the day tomorrow, unfortunately, when it looks like we'll see potentially some strong severe storms there as well.
All right, everybody, with the lack of any tornado warning, what we're going to do here in about 15 seconds is we're going to take you back to CBS Mornings. However, with severe thunderstorm warnings, as is always our protocol, we'll continue streaming our coverage of these until the threat is entirely out of the area or diminished over on 5+. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, as well as our free mobile app, 5 News. We'll have more information for you on these apparent tornado touchdowns in Crawford County coming up on your 5 News at noon and over on 5+. For now, we'll return you back to CBS Mornings. All right, good morning, everybody there on the stream. We apologize for that little housekeeping, getting the transmitter set back over to regular programming. No tornado warnings at the moment. We do have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings through our area. The first of which is going to be for Franklin County. That storm, it's really trying to weaken, but it hasn't quite done it just yet. That warning itself, which does include everywhere from Mulberry back up towards Watalula, Cravens, Ozark, back down towards, let's say, Peter Pender, Cecil, that one is going to be running until, let's see, I believe that's going to be, was that 8:30?
It was. They may have issued a new one until 9 a.m.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, until 9 a.m. That's right. That's exactly what they did. The second of which is going to be in southeastern Flore County. That is almost entirely out of our viewing area. That one, that warning specifically set to expire at 8:45. So we'll be with you until both or all of those warnings are either expired early, canceled, or until those expiration times. Our severe weather threat is diminishing, but it's not entirely over just yet. I think the big highlight for a lot of folks this morning, unfortunately, is the apparent tornado that has struck parts of Van Buren, and it got really close to Alma. We'll have to see how far that damage and that debris tracked over into Alma. Our crews are descending there now. Your reports are coming into the newsroom rather quickly. We're digesting those, passing along what's important to the National Weather Service as well. Trees twisted, a lot of that near the Baptist Hospital in Van Buren. I saw some pictures of some roofs entirely removed from homes. So likely was a tornado that produced that damage. We certainly saw the debris lofted into the atmosphere on Doppler radar. You get those reports, you see it on radar, and obviously you're going to have a likely tornado. Weather Service out of Tulsa will come give it a rating, is what they're going to be doing. So what Danny's pulling up here are some preliminary storm reports. I want you to know this. While we're showing you this, you got to know that these don't come in immediately. Think of it like this. If your house was hit by a tornado, the first thing you're going to do is probably not text me here at the station and say, hey, I got hit by a tornado. You're going to go out and assess the damage, and you're going to take care of your neighbors and your friends. So a lot of these reports come in a little bit delayed, as they should, which is okay. So you only see a few of those icons popping up there. The reality of the situation right now this morning is there's going to be a lot more of those damage reports probably coming in with time. But Danny will show you there, as that storm crossed the river, the Arkansas River, right there near the 540 bridge, that rotation intensified. You start to see some damage reports coming in, and then you start to see the actual tornado itself likely producing damage. And so unfortunately, that was what happened there this morning. Weather Service will come down. They're going to look at the damage. They have a lot of structural engineering background, and so they're able to see the quality and the type of design structure for homes and businesses and buildings. and they're able to match that up with radar, assess how strong the winds were based off of the type of damage to certain different types of buildings. Obviously, it's not going to take as much wind to blow an outhouse versus a home or a well-built office building. They take into account a lot of those types of things. They'll assess a rating. They'll tell us how wide it was, how long it was on the ground, how high the winds were. That stuff comes with time. What's happening right now is probably a bit of an emergency response from local emergency personnel that are descending into the area, rendering aid if it's needed, and trying to take care of folks as they're really just now assessing how bad is the damage. I've seen a few pictures already this morning that tells me at least in one neighborhood not far from the Baptist Hospital there in Van Buren, damage was somewhat serious. I wouldn't necessarily use the word weak tornado. I think perhaps it may have been a little bit stronger. Sometimes pictures can be deceiving, so I don't want to say too much there and get ahead of the Weather Service, but the pictures I've seen, minimally from just a human-to-human perspective, it kind of hurt my heart, just knowing that folks that were just having a good old peaceful Friday morning now are probably without a habitable home. The pictures I've seen are bad enough that suggest the damage was certainly somewhat extensive. Right now, power outages in Adair County, Oklahoma at 474. Sequoia County has ticked up since I last reported to you. Right now, that's at 4,143. In Crawford County, the current count is almost 1,200, which is down a little bit from where it was earlier. That's good news. Madison County, however, our power outages are up to 853. That's going to be some straight line winds, perhaps some lightning causing those. 157 residents in Sebastian County currently without power, seeing a small number there in Franklin County for us as well. Right now, as we see on radar, there's just those two warnings. Not a lot's changing. The system's slowing down. It's not as organized. However, there's some good soaking rain that is continuing, and that soaking rain with a slow progression of this system could lead to some localized flash flooding, especially in those areas that, you know, it doesn't take much, right? And we all know where those areas are. If you live near one that starts to flood, that very well could be an issue for us. We've seen a lot of rain over the last several weeks, so it's not going to take as much as it maybe normally would have. Taking a look at that line there, you can see that the rain total's picking up anywhere between about, let's say, about 1 inch to 2. It looks to be pretty common for a lot of folks. Yeah, there's 1.5 inches in Benton County, almost 1 inch thus far, south of Fayetteville, almost 1 inch in Sequoia County. Parts of Sequoia County picking up about 1 inch. Now, these numbers are radar estimates, and I know these numbers are going to look a little bit different than your rain gauge in your front yard. Your rain gauge far more accurate than what the Doppler radar can estimate, but this gives us a pretty good idea of how much we've seen, broadly speaking, over the last little bit. Let's go back to live radar. Let's do this. Let's take a look at our Flore County cell. Danny, you're driving here for us. I'll let your voice get a rest. You've been busy this morning. That's the Flore County cell. The severe aspect is almost entirely out of Flore County. However, it is tracking towards the southeast, and it is going to be moving into the Mena community here in the next few minutes. So if you live anywhere between Rich Mountain, Mena, back towards Hatfield, you might want to be mindful of this strong storm potentially producing 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. It has had some pockets of some weak rotation at times. It's been weak. It's not necessarily been too concerning, but given the environment that we've looked at this morning, it's one of those things that you don't want to take lightly. So we've been checking on this closely. You might not have seen that on air, but I'm diligently looking at all of these cells up and down the line off air as we track the most pressing issue, which thus far has been in Crawford County. Now that cell moving into Franklin. No tornado imminent there, I don't think, with that cell. It's severe thunderstorm warning. I'll let you take control, Danny. But that's it. Right now, winds and maybe some small hail, but I really think it's probably just some gusty winds. Now moving through the Ozark community, that's passing towards the east. So heads up, folks, east of Ozark, let's say through Altus, Coal Hill, Clarksville, Hartman. You might just be mindful. You've probably got, the warning goes for up to 60, but right now radar sampling closer to about 40 to 50. So we'll see how much of that translates to the ground. Some gusty winds nonetheless. You're probably going to have some tough driving conditions when the winds are that strong and the rain is that heavy, but that primarily is going to be our biggest impact there locally right now. I do want to take a look at something else over here. I may pull this up on air here if we need to. Yeah, I'm going to do this, Danny. There's a lot of traffic issues out there this morning. Let's work our way up and down this line, looking at some of these traffic issues. First, we do have an accident. This one is going to be in Benton County at mile marker 74 on the northbound lane. So that is going to be, let's see, that's going to be north of Sunset Avenue in Springdale. So Let's see, this camera has a good look at it. You can see the backup as we look towards the north there, the northbound lane, slow going traffic. Looks like there's at least a couple of lanes open, so we might be able to get some folks through there. This camera is looking from Wagon Wheel, so it looks like by the time you get to Wagon Wheel, things are improving for you a little bit better. Let's see, is this another emergency crew traveling somewhere? Let's see if this vehicle can get a little closer. Or is that a truck? All I see is the flashing light. I think that's just an 18-wheeler. Got another accident now. This one's going to be in Fayetteville, north of MLK. It's going to be right between Weddington and MLK. And this camera from RDOT pretty zoomed in there. The accident itself is going to be in the southbound lane. So folks traveling, let's say from Weddington south towards the MLK exit, it impacts the right and the right shoulder. That's coming in as a multiple vehicle accident. You can see this same one from a little bit different perspective. You can see it looks like they might have a couple of lanes open, but expect some delays traveling through that area this morning as well. I did see another accident. This one's going to be along I-49 as well. This is going to be right near the RDOT tunnel. Visibility is pretty reduced there given the rain and the fog that's moving into the area. When you look into the severe cell, let's say specifically Ozark, this is going to be near the Loves exit along I-40 there, looking back off towards the west. Not as reduced visibility, but certainly some gusty winds. At times you can see that camera bouncing. That's going to be those winds blowing it around. If you also draw your eye to those trees, you can see those shaking quite a bit out there as well. Back towards Mulberry, looks like we've got some good downpours, but the wind's not near as intense as that storm. The worst part, at least, seemingly has passed off towards the east. When we get into the Van Buren area, this is going to be a look not far from where that tornado crossed. This is going to be the Van Buren side of the Arkansas River. That 540 bridge right there, looking towards the south, looking over into Fort Smith, which would have probably given us a pretty close look at where that tornado passed. Along Kelly Highway, things are up to speed. Maybe folks are using a little bit of extra caution out there this morning as those roads are going to be wet. Visibility at times a little bit reduced, so let's be mindful of that. That 64 interchange, let's see, I had that one pulled up earlier as that storm rolled through. Things are going to look a lot better for us out there right now. This is going to be where 64 interchanges with Interstate 40 right there. Outside of Van Buren, you can see that folks are up to speed along the I-40 side, both west and eastbound. Despite that, the fact that there's going to be some rain slowing a few folks down out there this morning. That's a check of traffic. We'll keep an eye on that as we proceed. We do have a live cut-in on CBS mornings on television coming up at 8:55, so you might see us get ready for that over the next few minutes. Our protocol, if you're wondering, okay, if the tornado threats pass, why are y'all still streaming? Well, number one, it's a pretty active morning out there. You can see radar shows showers up and down northwest Arkansas into the River Valley, although starting to slowly taper off in northwest Arkansas. We do have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, and our protocol here is anytime there's a warning, we're going to be here for you anywhere we can be. And so right now, we'll stick it out. Looks like one of those warnings, I believe this one's going to be for Flore County, was set to expire at 8:45, so that's in just about 4 minutes or so. The Franklin County warning set to expire at 9 a.m. I'll tell you though, that storm not only is weakened, the worst part has likely actually moved out of Franklin County. And so I suspect we probably won't need to be streaming until 9 o'clock, but we're prepared to do so and beyond should something else pop up and materialize. Right now, though, this event starting to kind of trend down, becoming more of a rain event for a lot of us this morning. It was rocky for many folks early on your Friday. Apparent tornado, likely tornado in Sequoyah County and Crawford County. That same storm lifted and dropped multiple tornadoes before weakening and kind of merging into this squall line that you see that now spans Carroll County all the way back down towards southeastern Flore County. 2 of those warnings continue. We'll see how long they actually are going to be in effect. I suspect that if this continues for the next few minutes, one of them for sure is going to expire. That Flore County warning that you see near Page is going to expire as it continues to move out of the warned area. The one in Franklin, I just can't see them letting it go until 9 o'clock based off of current trends. Let's hope that that is set to continue for us out there this morning. We'll go back to our damage reports that Danny was walking through earlier. In fact, I'll actually bring Danny Cassidy back in. Danny, you were tracking these storms all morning long. You saw that progression. Unfortunately, a lot of folks dealing with some damage as a result of that.
Yeah, unfortunately, especially into now Sequoyah County, we did have a tornado debris signature pop, but we haven't seen anything there yet. Just the one report of the tornado debris signature west of Sallisaw. We talked about that, excuse me, as it was moving through, but really it's been in Crawford County here, especially near the Van Buren area where we've seen, unfortunately, multiple homes get damaged. You can see the worst of the damage is going to be there near the Alma area as well. So you can see this is where the damage was, I believe. Yeah, this was where we saw the report of some homes torn up, unfortunately, near the hospital in Van Buren. There's that tornado debris signature that popped up as we were watching it move to the northeast, and then it kind of died off a little bit there near Elma, but still some damage there north of the Elma area, and some gusty winds as well, I think 60 to 70 miles per hour. So we've been watching that. Unfortunately, it did produce a lot of damage. We'll have to see. Again, the National Weather Service in Tulsa will eventually go out and survey this, but unfortunately, there's also storms coming in tomorrow as well, and maybe even late Sunday. So it's going to be a very active next couple of days, but we'll see and assess, and hopefully everyone's okay from these storms, no matter if you were in Franklin County or really all across the area. So again, if we query this a little bit here, just to kind of show you what we're talking about again, significant damage to a home, likely tornado damage. It says thunderstorm wind damage, but again, they'll assess that. We saw that debris signature pop up shortly later, so again, I wouldn't be shocked. Unfortunately, that was a tornado in that area. The one in Sequoia County, we did see move west of Sallisaw, and we saw the debris signature kind of pop up for us. Near the Vian area, and you notice that, again, this was a storm chaser reported tornado crossing I-40, and that radar data also showed that debris signature. That was about just before 7 a.m. this morning. So I would say at least 2 tornadoes would be pretty likely out of this, if not, excuse me, a couple more. So unfortunately, we'll have to assess that damage. And again, I hope everyone is okay after these storms. It's very stressful anytime there's storms moving through, no matter where you are. Especially those, again, thinking of those in Franklin County. As Scott mentioned, the Flore County one, it looks like the strongest of the winds have now moved out of Flore County. So that has now moved off to the south there, south of the Waldron area there, south of Scott County. So it looks like the worst of it is now out. So if you're in Flore County, still seeing a lot of moderate to heavy rainfall. But in terms of those strongest winds, if we show you here, those are going to be, I think, out of the region there. You see that's now heading towards the Mena area there, so towards Smithville. So again, the worst of that is going to be over. And near the Waldron area, seeing probably some gusty winds, and nothing to arise to the occasion of any severe weather, but maybe seeing close to 40 to 50 mile per hour winds there, as well into portions of the city of Paris, there into portions of Logan County, and maybe seeing some 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. You see there in Franklin County, again, as we've been talking about, seeing maybe a little bit of a weakening trend and seeing those winds not as strong, but again, seeing things quiet down there, which is good news. And the good news with this is as well is that you see really no signs of rotation, which is good. That line is congealing, it's straightening out. If we show you just kind of an overall view of what it looks like across the region, we'll show the radar here. So we'll freeze it. So again, there's that line. So those in Benton County are seeing some clearing. Western Washington County seeing some clearing. I'll see if maybe we're seeing some sunshine as well. It might be a little bit too early for that, but maybe potentially some sunshine. Now, okay, pretty cloudy out there. But eventually on the backside here, you see near Tulsa, might eventually see some sunshine clear out for us, and we'll see temperatures warm back up into the 80s. But unfortunately, that's going to regenerate some showers and storms later tonight into tomorrow morning. So we'll give you a quick view of what that looks like. So this is going to be for tomorrow. So this is going to be early tomorrow morning. Basically, the entire area under a level 2 risk, unfortunately, of severe weather, and those same threats are going to remain. It's going to be those damaging wind gusts, potentially up to 70 miles per hour. Maybe a little bit more of a hail chance now as well, because those storms will form a little bit closer to us instead of forming out in southeastern Colorado. And just like we had this morning, a few spin-up tornadoes definitely can't be ruled out. So unfortunately, we're not done with the severe weather quite yet. And then even potentially Sunday nights, there's a level 2 risk for the entire area. While this one, I think, is going to be a lot more isolated. Anything that does able to form, once again, could have a large hail and damaging wind gust aspect. And I'm not as confident about Sunday night's activity. During the day Sunday, we should be dry. During the day Saturday, we should be dry. But again, it's going to be later tonight, about 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. Saturday morning. And then as well, maybe late Sunday night into early Monday. We'll have more on that on the news at noon. But again, for now, I just want to give you a heads up on that. And unfortunately, we're not done yet. The good news is if you're headed to Baum-Walker Stadium or you're just camping out and going anywhere on Saturday during the afternoon, that should be dry. So that's some good news there. But again, just want to give you a heads up on those that we're not done, unfortunately, with this quite yet. So as we talked about, these are weakening quite a bit, which is some good news. That signature is now moved out of Flore County. That expired at 8:45. You're seeing on the northwest side here, pretty clear in terms of Washington County and Benton County. Seeing maybe some gusty winds now move east of Madison County, maybe for far eastern Carroll County, a little bit there into Johnson County, Franklin County. We're seeing those diminish. You see a little bit of heavier pockets of rain here near Logan County and Scott County. So this is probably where the gustiest of the winds would be. Again, it's been kind of weakening from north to south. We'll go back to velocity here just to kind of pick out some wind speeds for you. Again, they may be seeing some gusty winds, 40 to 50 miles per hour. Nothing of too much concern, but again, some gusty winds nonetheless. You see 54 miles per hour. So getting up there, it's a little above the radar as well. But you're noticing that we could see some stronger winds with any of these storms. The one, though, that is severe warning in Franklin County, as Scott's been mentioning, the worst of it looks to be out of the area there, potentially north of Clarksville, east of Batson, maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour. Nothing to the rise of the concern of any severe weather, but something nonetheless that we're seeing a lot. Winds diminishing at least. It looks like we're getting a new report. Oh, this was in Flore County, I believe. That's right. We saw the earlier report of a tree blocking Highway 9 between Spiro and Stigler. So we saw that. That was a little bit earlier this morning. I think more towards 7:30 this morning. So one last look here at the radar. Yeah, we'll continue to be on 5 News Plus and streaming. We have that cut in here in about 7 minutes. So if you see me kind of stop and then regenerate a little bit, that's just because of that. We've got to do that on television. But we are seeing that main line here. Again, if you're behind the main line, you're seeing maybe just some light to moderate rainfall, maybe a little bit of lightning here and there, but that's cleared out. And as I mentioned, for the rest of today, once this moves out, we'll maybe see a few isolated storms, but that's about it in terms of any activity there. I'll see if we can just kind of show you a quick look of what we can expect for the rest of the day today. In terms of the latest data actually coming in right now, we're seeing new versions of things start to come out. So we'll see if we can kind of pull that up for you here and just give you a quick look. Just a quick look at the forecast here in terms of what to expect. So we saw those storms clear out. So now we're in the rest of the day. We're seeing, I think, some sunshine, seeing some nice conditions, maybe a stray storm or two, but nothing of really too much concern. What we're going to be watching for, though, here is about 2 a.m. on our western edge. We'll start to see these storms form a little bit closer, and you see cells a little bit more isolated. That's where we're going to have to watch for the hail concern as it moves in early Saturday morning. You notice here's 3:30, 4 o'clock. You're seeing widespread rainfall, especially in northwest Arkansas, heavy rain. Again, those winds to be a factor. And again, as it's forming closer, that's where you can see more of the hail threat as well. This continues through Saturday morning. You see 7 a.m. still seeing on the backside, maybe more towards the river valley there, some heavier rainfall that's moving through. And then again, I think by 10 a.m., that's going to leave the area. And then behind it, maybe a couple of scattered showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder at best. But then it looks like the rest of Saturday there, we'll go to 4 o'clock, obviously, which is what we're going to be watching for the game at Baumwalker Stadium. You notice sunshine, no rain really to talk about. So really the theme of this weekend is the rest of the weekend, it's going to be these overnight, early morning activities. I think Saturday night into early Sunday, we'll show you a look at that. I think that's going to develop south of the area. So you see some storms trying to develop, but nothing too crazy Saturday night. You know, there's nothing really developing. It looks like Saturday night should be clear. Maybe a couple of storms just in far southern portions of Flore and Scott County. But I think for the most part, Saturday night will be clear. It's Sunday night into early Monday we'll have to be keeping an eye on for any storms to redevelop. But it looks like for the most part during Saturday night and early Sunday, much of the day Sunday, should be dry. So again, wanted to make sure that we gave you a look at that because again, unfortunately, we're not done. The National Weather Service in Tulsa is going to expire that severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for Franklin County. Technically, I think we still have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 10 a.m. Again, though, that line is really weakening. And once that line moves through, we're done. And really, even now, we're starting to see that start to peel off. So really, if you're in anywhere along I-49 or west, you're in the clear. So Flore County, not concerned about that anymore. Sebastian, Crawford, and anywhere along I-49, we're good. And then we're going to continue to see things diminish a little bit here for us. So again, nothing too much of concern, but just wanted to give you a heads up on that. If you see the watch still out, that's why. They got more things to worry about in terms of that.
So with the absence of any warning, the Franklin County warning, of course, being expired, it'll fall off the map here over the next couple of minutes. We're going to go ahead and end this stream. Do want to pass along some information to you before I do that. Latest updates out of Crawford County. At least 50, they're saying 50 plus structures with damage around Baptist Health in Van Buren. They're also reporting a major gas leak Crews are working to clear paths for emergency vehicles to get in. At least as of right now, there have not been any injuries confirmed as of just yet. We, of course, hope and pray that continues to hold true. Again, 50 structures with damage around Baptist Health in Van Buren. They're also dealing with a major gas leak. On top of that, it looks like the amount of tree damage is producing some issues, resulting in some issues with getting emergency crews to where they need to get. So with that said, we are going to end this live stream. We have no current active warnings. I know you still see the Franklin warning. It's expired. The map just hasn't caught up yet. And so we no longer have any pressing severe weather threat, at least as of right now. Rain will continue. We'll be live on Channel 5 on air here and coming up in just about 2 minutes with another weather update.
Plus, want to give you an update on air on Channel 5 that we are seeing things diminish for us, thankfully, across the region. We do have one severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 9 o'clock for Franklin County, but that has been allowed to expire. So at 9 o'clock, that'll pop off the screen. And generally speaking, as we go through 9 to 10 o'clock, we will be seeing things diminish for us for the rest of this morning. I do want to say that, yes, technically, we still have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 10 a.m. later this morning. However, things have weakened. Eventually, that'll be allowed to expire, and we won't have to deal with any of that severe weather for the rest of today, thankfully. It's unfortunately what we're watching for is later tonight. Tonight, we could see some stronger thunderstorms starting about 2 a.m. A level 2 risk is in effect for the entire area until about 10 a.m. The main threats are going to be potentially up to ping pong ball size hail. Hail could be a little bit of a bigger concern for us tomorrow night, or excuse me, tonight instead of this morning, because the storm's going to form a little bit closer to us. Winds could be as high as 70 miles per hour, and tornadoes, just like we saw today, unfortunately, they're not zero. It could be very brief, but still could cause some damage, unfortunately. So I want to give you a quick look of what that's going to look like here on Futurecast. So those storms moved through this morning. The rest of today, we're dry, we're quiet. Nothing really going on too much, maybe a stray storm or two, but nothing to be concerned about. As we head into the tonight, Friday nights, into early Saturday, here's 2 o'clock. You're noticing those showers and storms forming off to our west, more of the single cell variety, which is where we could see that large hail. Eventually, it will develop into more of a wind threat. Here's 4 o'clock. You see that line become more organized, especially for northwest Arkansas. We see a lot of heavy rain with that, those damaging wind gusts, and unfortunately, yes, that tornado chance. Now as we head towards 7 a.m., the new line developing behind it, especially for the river valleys that moves through, hasn't really tapped into any energy yet. This is where we could see those strong to severe storms continue. That is 9 a.m., continuing to see that move through. And then I think by 10 o'clock, we'll see that clear out. And then we'll see maybe just a couple of scattered showers on the back end. But then after that, as we go towards the game at 4 o'clock at Baum-Walker Stadium, and really all across the region, we're seeing some sunshine, we're seeing quiet conditions, maybe on the warm, maybe on the muggy side. But in terms of anything, not really seeing anything for Saturday afternoon. Saturday night into early Sunday should be quiet, but then unfortunately we have yet another chance of severe weather Sunday night into early Monday. So again, unfortunately, there was some reports of some damage in Crawford County near the Van Buren area, so we'll have to see the assessments there. Also saw a potential tornado in Sequoia County to the west of Sallisaw, so we'll have to watch that as well. Again, we're hoping everyone is okay out there after the severe weather. We get a break today. Another potential, unfortunately, tonight, and then another chance, a little bit more isolated Sunday night into early Monday. So that is it from me. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll have another update on the weather at the 5 News at noon.
storm damage in our area. We're getting our first images out of Van Buren, where a likely tornado came through this morning. Right now, let's get straight to 5 News anchor Joe Ellison, who's live there. And Joe, you can see some damage behind you. Bring us up to speed on what you're seeing there.
Yeah, you know, Morgan, this may be the worst of the damage here in this area. Now, there's a lot of chainsaws, a lot of work going on around me, so I'm going to talk a little bit loud, but I want to step out of the way and show you what we're seeing. This right here is Osher Lane and 19th Street. Now, the home that you're looking at right here, where you can see the front of it's gone, you can see straight into it. This home belongs to Karen. She's 77 years old, her family tells me. They say she was asleep in her bed there on the right side whenever this came through. She didn't know what was happening. Their family tells me that whenever she woke up, she could see the sky. Her roof was gone. It was raining on her, but thankfully no injuries. I mean, she's 77 years old. She calls her family quickly. They came and got her. Now, they've taken her away from the scene to kind of calm her down, make sure she's okay. But you can see all of the debris here in this housing authority in Van Buren. This right here is just, you know, south of the hospital. So up here on a hill, a lot of homes look very similar to this. A lot of people live in this area. It's very populated. But you can see there's a bunch of crews out here right now. They got the chainsaws going. They got the bulldozers going. That's because as soon as this hit, they came here to help because the power's off. There's power lines everywhere. We have people who have just shown up to put tarps on top of some of these roofs. Now, as far as the homes that have the roofs tore off them, where you can see inside, it looks like there's only about a couple, but there's dozens of them here that have some sort of roof damage. You can't travel through this area. Police have it blocked off right now because you can't get through. There's so many tree limbs down. But as I mentioned, those crews that are here, they're really starting to clear everything up, trying to sort of make a path through here so other emergency crews can get through here. Now, I did ask some people who were standing by, some people who live here. I said, hey, was anyone injured? Because this looks like a lot of damage. They say no one that they know of right now. No one taken to the hospital that they know of, which by looking at this, I mean, they're really thankful, you know, that nothing bad happened, but a lot of damage in this area. Again, this is Osher Lane and 19th Street, just south of the hospital here in Van Buren. A lot of damage, dozens of homes with some sort of damage, a lot of debris at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and step back in front of the camera here, Joel. We're still really kind of get an assessment of the extent of this damage out here. Everyone who lives in this area, I mean, they're outside right now, kind of just like telling their friends and telling us what happened whenever it came through, sort of assessing what kind of damage they have at their homes right now. So Morgan, I'm going to go ahead and send it back to you. We're going to gather a little bit more information. We haven't been here that long. Again, people tell us in this area they don't think anyone was injured. That's the good news, but a lot of damage here in this Van Buren community. We'll gather more information and we'll give it to you as soon as we have it.
All right, thank you so much, Joe, for that update. I think now we're going to look at power outages in the area. So we'll take a look here. It looks like there's 415 there in Crawford County where that storm came through there. And it looks like in Madison, we have 1,000, just over 1,000 out there, and a few in Sebastian County as well, 247 in Sebastian County. Now, we're going to have Sebastian County Emergency Manager Travis Cooper is going to join us on the phone now. He's taking over for Crawford County today where most of that damage is. Do we have Travis right now? All right, so Travis.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. So the first thing I think we're wondering, Joe told us that in the area she's in that she's not hearing of any injuries. Have you heard of any injuries from that storm?
So looking at where we are in both Sebastian and Crawford County, we have no reports of any injuries from both counties. I'm actually standing here in Van Buren, currently assisting our Veronica Robbins, the emergency manager here in Crawford County. We had some flood-prone areas that did pick up in Sebastian County, light tree damage over roadways in Sebastian County, but we quickly identified heavy damage in Crawford County, and so therefore that's why we came over to assist and we're actually making headway on our damage assessment teams. They're fixing to go out. We'll have 4 teams identified with Crawford County Emergency Management and Search and Rescue. So if you see these crews out in the Housing Authority additions, just here close to the hospital, just know that that's what they're doing. They're coming out, getting information, trying to assess the damage as to how many actual homes are damaged, and then we're going to report that to the state. It's very important to understand, too, that the county judge in Crawford County has already verbally declared, so that quickly identifies any resources that may be needed at the state level or neighboring counties can assist the city of Van Buren with this needs. Talking with the city of Van Buren, they're heavily involved. They got crews out, heavy machinery and trucks just coming and going, and just know that it's very imperative that people don't come into the area. If you have family and friends that may be impacted or here that had damage, it's important that we get that information, and then, of course, they go to a safe place. We don't want people walking around. There is still power lines, as Joe shared earlier, power lines. We had a gas line rupture earlier as well, so there's still some hazards and some threats that we want to make sure that people stay safe as they're out here.
Thank you, Travis. And just to get an idea of the extent of the structural damage, I think we had heard that over 50 homes were damaged. Does that sound right to you, or are you seeing more now?
So right now, we actually did a quick assessment just by driving through the areas and getting on foot and walking in the areas that we could. Later on, in about 30 minutes to an hour, we're going to actually go back out and actually put pen to a clipboard and paper to where we can know those numbers. Right now, we're at 46 structures that actually were affected, looking at possibly 12 with major or destroyed damage. But that's still information coming in.
Okay, and just main thing for people that what they need to know right now to stay safe while crews are cleaning up is, you would say, just don't go in these areas that are blocked off, and don't be surprised if you can't get around in some areas you're used to being in.
Correct, absolutely. If you live in the area, if you need to get to certain places, just know that we need to communicate that with officers, communicate that with the city. That way we can get by. But you may be actually parking your vehicle in a location and then walking to your residency if you can't get past a certain intersection or a street. And also, too, if you do have damage, please report that to the Crawford County EOC, or if it is within the Housing Authority jurisdiction of their property, please get with your manager at their offices. We'll actually have a clipboard and a sign-in sheet there for information. And just know, too, that local Walmart has already donated some water and snacks, and so that support is there. We also have Red Cross on site here at the Crawford County Emergency Operations Center, and they'll be getting out later this morning to meet with families and get an idea as to how they can help as well.
Thank you, Travis. Anything else that people should know this morning?
Stay safe, be alert, be prepared, and information, please share as much as possible. That way we can help those in need and make sure we don't miss anyone.
All right, thank you so much. And that was Travis Cooper, Sebastian County Emergency Management here. And we're still looking here at the scene where Joe and Joel are at. I mean, extensive damage there in that neighborhood there in Van Buren.
Yeah, unfortunately, and again, we saw that kind of tornado debris kind of signature pop up, and unfortunately it just kind of came up, and yeah, that one area south of the hospital got hit the worst, unfortunately. As you heard, 46 structures at least damaged in that area, so unfortunately got to assess more there. Thankfully, no injuries have been reported, which is a very good sign, so hopefully that continues to be the case. Let's kind of recap of what the storm reports looked like across the scene and just talk about what could be happening in the future here in terms of weather. So as you see, the storm reports mainly confined to Crawford County, and we'll go kind of area by area there showing you. So we'll go back to south of the hospital there in Van Buren. That's where the significant damage, and as we mentioned, you see those roofs torn off like that. That's more than likely a tornado. Can't exactly confirm it. We saw the tornado debris pop up. we saw those roofs torn off like that, and more than likely, once this is all said and done, that will unfortunately be a tornado. There was the debris signature we talked about just a couple of minutes to the northeast. And you can see also a tornado reported by the public. So again, I would not doubt that that was a tornado. Other places in Crawford County, Rudy, we had trees down, so some thunderstorm wind damage there. Near Alma, we had very strong winds. Down in Sebastian County in the city of Hackett, reported a tree down on Highway 45 and Bermuda Grass Loop and near the city of Hackett. And then off to the west there in Flore County near Collington, saw a report of a tree blocking Highway 9 between Spiro and Stigler. So in between this area right here. And then also into Sequoia County, we did see some tornado debris near the Vian area pop up. So we'll have to watch and see when they go assess this damage if that was actually a tornado. But we did see a lot of debris pick up there and reports of tornadoes out in that area. So I'd say probably at least 2 tornadoes in the area once this is all said and done. Thankfully for right now, the severe threat is done. All of that heavy rain is now moved off to the south and to the east. Right now, south of I-40, maybe just some light to moderate showers. That's about it. Again, if you're assessing the damage like they talked about, just make sure to be safe about it. And if you're unsure, contact your emergency management. But for right now, again, nothing too crazy out there in parts of the river valley there. So again, no thunderstorms really to report, just some showers, and that'll continue for the next couple of hours and then clear out. So later today, we will see a break later this afternoon, maybe a few spotty storms at times, but for the most part, we will be quiet. It'll be calm, temperatures in the low to mid 80s. Again, no big deal. Unfortunately, this isn't the last we're going to see of severe weather. It's going to ramp right back up later tonight. This is going to be a little bit earlier during the overnight hours. And again, as we talked about, this is why you need those alerts to get you awake in case things do roll through, especially tonight, because they could be as early as 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. We could see now a little bit more of an uptick of hail because that storm is going to organize a little bit farther east. These storms that originated this morning came from southeast Colorado, made its way all the way here. These are going to develop, I think, more in east central Oklahoma or almost right overhead. It's when they develop initially, you get those single cells, and that's where hail could be a concern. Once again, 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. We've seen some reports of near 70 miles per hour gusts around the area. And tornadoes, unfortunately, once again, it's a lower chance, but it's not a zero chance. And while they might not be those massive EF5s, we definitely could still see some tornadic activity. So here's this evening. Again, we're seeing quiet conditions right now, or we're going to be seeing quiet conditions. If the rest of this evening, we're fine. But let's pick things back up here. Here's Saturday at midnight. As I talked about, here's east central Oklahoma near McAllister. We start to see these cells start to fire off. And then by, I think, 2 a.m., they're either right on our doorstep or very close to the area. You notice they're more of that single cell variety. So this is where the hail could be more of a threat. Now by 4:30 a.m., you're seeing most of it, especially north of I-40. A lot of heavy rain. You're seeing that Boeing shape there. Could be indicative of some damaging wind gusts. And as well, again, when we have more of that southerly flow and it smashes into that west to east movement of storms, that's where we can see those spin up tornadoes. That continues through the morning hours here, and then could see some redevelopment behind it as we head later into the morning hours Saturday. You see by 10 o'clock it does move through the region, but this is where we could see, again, another round of severe storms. And again, threats are basically the same as this morning, minus we could see maybe a little bit more of a hail threat even. Then by Saturday afternoon, maybe a couple scattered showers behind it. Nothing that's going to cause too much concern. And then, of course, we have the game at Bob Walker Stadium tomorrow. I think that'll be dry. I think that'll be pleasant. And really Saturday night and early Sunday should be quiet. So at least we'll get a little bit of a break there. But then unfortunately, yet again, we'll have another chance. This is going to be Sunday evening into Sunday night. We'll see a line of storms kind of form just to our north there in northeast Oklahoma and southwest Missouri, and they'll move from north to south. This one I do think is going to be a little bit more isolated, but anything that does develop could see some large hail and damaging wind gusts. So again, this is something we'll have to be keeping an eye on as we go later into Sunday. Again, this is a little bit more isolated, but we have the ingredients certainly there for that. So again, this is something we're going to keep an eye on for really the next couple of days. And of course, we'll be keeping you posted here in the 5 News Weather Center. So Morgan, we still have some severe weather, unfortunately, on the way.
All right, Danny, thanks. Well, now we're going to take a look at some photos sent in from viewers. This is the Insmingers from Van Buren sent us in this photo. If you look in the distance there, you can see those trees damaged there. No, Joe was saying we've seen a lot of that across the area, and some more trees down from Ginger Perkins in Van Buren. It looks like a backyard damage. Lots of tree damage there in that backyard. And here's from Amber Cunningham in Stigler, and you can see, again, more trees down. This is what crews are working to clean up all around that neighborhood there in Van Buren. Another tree down here in Stigler. This is from Tracy and Mina, a tree down on that home there, making it difficult for lots of people trying to get out and about today. And you'll remember that crews were telling us you're probably not going to be able to get into a lot of these neighborhoods because they're working to clean up there. There's a pretty impressive picture from Christina and Fort Smith along State Line Road. That's just, I guess, when the storm was coming in. You can see those pretty menacing clouds there in Fort Smith. And also from Tracy and Mina, another view of that tree on that home there. Got more trees down from Jeanette Thompson. This is also in Van Buren, another tree down in that neighborhood there. And this is where Joe is right now in Van Buren. I mean, she was telling us you've seen roofs ripped off of houses there, and that looks like what we're looking at right there in Van Buren. So now I think, speaking of Joe, we're going to go back to her where she is. She's there in that neighborhood in Van Buren. And Joe, you've been talking to residents there that have been affected by this, right?
I lost IFB. Yeah, you know, a lot of folks affected by this out here on Osier Lane and 19th Street. Now, let me just step out of the way. I told you the story here, this home you're seeing in front of me about Karen. She's 77 years old. Her family came and got her. They just finished to get out a bunch of clothes and things that she could use today. She's away from the scene so she can sort of calm down. But go ahead and pan to the left, right over here, Joel, the left. Let's take a look at this other home where the roof is ripped off. Now, this was another couple, the Gowers, who lived in this home right here. No major injuries, which is the great thing from this area, but we do have their granddaughter here with us. Real quick, what was your name?
Andrea.
So Andrea, you were saying that they were inside whenever the storm hit.
Yes.
What happened to them?
Well, they were in the living room watching TV and eating breakfast, and maybe 20 minutes later the tornado came through. Didn't give us enough time to get to the hallway, so we were trying to move when the tornado came, and before we knew it, it kind of just collapsed on both of them. And I was standing in the hallway, thankfully, but I had a lot of major cuts and injuries trying to get them out of the house.
Absolutely. And you said that your grandpa here actually had to go to the hospital because
Yes.
he had a cut. What happened?
Well, so I think what happened is the windows, when they came in, it kind of landed on top of them. And when it landed on top of him, the glass really just got into his arm, and he had really bad cut on his arm. It was bleeding actively, but our neighbors here stopped it for him until the ambulance was able to come and get him. And thankfully, he doesn't have any major injuries, but he does have minor injuries.
And talk about her. Did the roof, you said, hit her?
Yeah, it landed on top of her. She was actually standing up when the roof hit her. So when it came down, it really was a lot of power, and she's not very stable on her feet already, so she kind of fell over when it happened. But I was able to get it off of her just enough for her to get out. But she does have a minor bump on her head where she was hit, but other than that, she's all right too.
Gotcha. And they're both at the hospital right now, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much for
You're
that.
very
I appreciate it. I just want to talk to you guys real quick. You live right across the street.
Yes.
After this happened, you said that you guys just jumped into action.
Yeah, we just jumped into action. My son is the one that checked over the window to see what was going on, and he saw, and he's like, "Mom, the roof is off." And I was like, "What?" And so we came, we looked. I was like, "All right, we need to go help." So myself and him sprung into action, helped her family, grandpa. We moved the debris to help him get out. He helped his grandma get out. Me and helped the grandpa too to get out. She was helping in the house to get the neighbors to come in, getting towels for them to get dressed. We just also gave them clothes because their clothes is wet. And so she shared some of her clothes for them to have so they can have something on right now dried until we can figure something else out. Right now we also have their dogs inside of my house and oxygen tanks that her grandpa has as well. But my son and I just both sprung into action to help our neighbors, just because it takes a minute for the ambulance and stuff, but while we were calling them, they got here within 5 minutes. Ambulance showed up, the police showed up, the fire department showed up. They were able, in the house on 815, the gas was going. You could hear the gas. They were able to shut that off quickly. But I know that if something were to happen to us, they would do the same thing. And so we're very caring about our neighbors. We knew they moved in and really haven't introduced ourselves to each other. But now we're going to be, longtime friends if we're helping each other out. But I've known about first aid, so I was like, we need to spring into action to see if anybody needs. I saw that he was actively bleeding on his arm, so I did a tourniquet to help him stop the bleeding and whatnot. But I was happy to be able to help out and get people out and get them to our house until, services came in.
They're great neighbors to have around, right? Yeah. And I just want to ask you real quick, because you were telling me earlier, whenever this came through, you said it was unbelievable what you were seeing. Tell me about inside when it moved through.
When I woke up, all I heard was rain and just thunder and all that. It was rain, wind, all of that, typically like a tornado, like how you would imagine it.
Like
it was,
roar.
Yeah, what is it? What's that one movie? Twister. I felt like I was in Twister.
Oh.
And I looked outside. All I seen was leaves flying. I seen a leaf on the window, and then just hard rain. And it was insane. It was crazy.
Absolutely. Whenever you came out here, what did the street look like whenever you emerged from the house?
It was covered in leaves, trees, branches. It was literally covered. Like, you could not see the...
And also his basketball court was in the middle of the street. It had been moved to the middle of the street. There was trees everywhere, like big trees. There was branches all over the floor in the middle of the street. Thankfully the crew that's helping out, is helping to clean some of it up. But everything just looked like a disaster. And I know they have photos for before. So, but it was a disaster, like really.
Yeah, they've done a great job really kind of getting everything cleared up quickly. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your sharing your story. Thank you. I'm so glad you're okay. So we just want to show the scene for you just one more time. Take a look over here, over my shoulder. You can see crews. They're still out here cleaning up, moving debris out of the way. There's no power here. There's power lines, laying down. A lot of trees in this area. Again, this is Osher Circle and 19th Street. It's just south of the hospital in Van Buren there, off of the main street. You have crews with the fire department here, emergency management, but you also have people who work with construction crews and teams and companies in the area who have showed up to start putting tarps on some of these homes because there's a lot of damage. Not all of them look like the one you're seeing right now, but that doesn't mean that there isn't damage to the roofs. Some roofs partially gone, so they're trying to get those covered up just in case there's any more weather that comes through. That way it won't leak in anymore. Now again, we told you about Karen, the 77-year-old woman who woke up and her roof was gone. She saw the sky. Rain was pouring down on her. Her family got her clothes. They took her away from the scene. They just left to go check on her. They're going to be back here in a few minutes. We're going to talk to them, and they're going to tell us her story and what happened. So we're going to gather a little bit more information, and as soon as we have that, Morgan, we'll make sure to give that to you. Back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. So scary and so thankful that everyone, for the most part, is doing okay now there. And just to recap what we've gotten from emergency management this morning, we have 46 structures are telling us with damage there, 12 either destroyed or with major damage, but they're still out there assessing there in Van Buren, Crawford County. They also said there was a major gas leak earlier, but they have it under control now. Power lines down everywhere, as you heard Joe mention, they mentioned earlier, and crews are working to clear paths for emergency vehicles. So they do have a lot of those neighborhoods there in Crawford County and Van Buren blocked off. No injuries confirmed yet. You heard people Joe was talking about some minor injuries they were luckily able to treat, but thankfully no major injuries have been reported just yet. And a disaster has been verbally declared there by the county judge. People need to report their damage to Crawford County Emergency Management, and Red Cross is on site there as well. Now we have our crews in the hardest hit areas. We'll keep you updated throughout the day on our 5 News Plus Smart TV app. You can download on your TV and watch for free, and we'll also have team coverage ahead on your 5 News at noon, so stay with us.